You are tuned in to G5 Jeff TV. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the share button as you come on in. If you are new to the channel, definitely subscribe. I got my main man here, my right hand, VP Shane in the building. What's going on, bro?
What's up?
Ain't nothing, everything chilling. Big news just dropped. Canelo Alvarez, Caleb Plant is officially done. I think it was via Mike Coppinger. I like to give out the credit where credit is due. So big shout out to Mike Coppinger,
Funny you said that.
ESPN. That's how you officially do that. We'll get to that later. But November 6th, Vegas, T-Mobile Arena. Uh, this is pretty big news. How you feel about it, Shane?
I mean, I kind of always knew it was gonna happen. Yesterday, not even for self-promotion, but in the article I wrote yesterday, which is on g5jefftv.com. You can go on g5jefftv.com.
Where
Or
is it?
when
Where is it
now
again? Where is it again?
g5jefftv.com
Okay.
or Google News app. G5Jeff TV is now like partnered up with Google News, like we are like official news source for Google News. So that was a big step for us. But yeah, you can go there. And in the article, I said that Caleb Plant and Canelo probably will end up fighting. This is without me having any insight. It's just based on the outsider looking in. I just felt like it's a fight that Canelo really wanted. And I don't want to go into too much details as we go into the live, but when you start to see the movements and the chess moves that both teams were making when Eddie Hearn was saying he's going to get Canelo to fight Bivol, I knew that fight was never going to happen. And then when he was getting, when Caleb Plant was saying what he was saying, it just seemed like they were just in a negotiation tennis. Like, I'm going to throw this out. We see it a million times before, so we're not surprised when we see the fight actually come through. A lot of fight
Yes.
fans were jumping the gun though. They were like, "Oh, it's dead, it's over," and all that. They must be new to the sport or something.
Yeah. When you're dealing with two guys that big, you know what I'm saying? You're dealing with Heyman, you're dealing with Canelo. Sometimes um it takes for the other person to walk away from the table for the other person to realize like, okay, like I'm in a real negotiation here. And
Right,
the funny thing is they both did it to each other.
exactly.
Both of them walked away from the table. So I think a sign of respect was laid down by both parties, and they ended up making a deal. But we got people in the building early.
Shout out to
Adrian is
you,
in
Adrian.
the big shout out to Adrian. Boxing Learner is in the
Shout out
building.
to
Big
you,
shout
bro.
out to you. But we gonna do right now. We are actually gonna put the link to the live in the chat right now. We're doing it a lot earlier than what we usually do. Um, but I'm real curious to see what other people think about
Yeah,
this actual fight.
yeah. I mean, I'm gonna say this now, and I'm gonna say it probably later in the live as well. Boxing fans are very ungrateful. I say they're very ungrateful purely and simply because we're in an era when this is the first time in the history of the sport that we've seen three undisputed fights in one calendar year. Never happened before. It's never ever happened before.
That sounds
So
like an article.
I done it yesterday. Yesterday I
No,
done. But
yeah,
you mean
but
specifically on that topic itself?
specifically on that itself.
Yeah. I mean, she like I was saying like yesterday, I was saying we've seen, if you want to count Teofimo Lopez and Lomachenko as a undisputed, some people do, some people don't. But if you want to count that,
I do.
obviously I know why you do because Devin Haney didn't win his belt in the ring.
Right, right.
So if you want to count that, that's four. That's four in the last 365 days.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at it, we had Charlo, we had Taylor, we have Canelo and Plant, and
Yeah,
we're gonna have uh we had Caleb Plant, we had Teofimo last year. We
yeah.
currently have 10 unified champions in the sport.
And then we're
There's
gonna have another.
10 unified champions in the sport. Now,
Yeah,
this is this has never happened before in the sport of boxing. So they
yeah.
say the best don't fight the best, but when we see it, we're still complaining. We gotta be grateful, have gratitude, and
Guys, Guys are it's boxing is in it, and then it's gonna be another unified champion come September 18th
Because
with Brandon Figueroa and Cool
even
Boy
vote.
Steph. Yeah. So boxing is in a really interesting place because it really depends on your viewpoint. It really depends on your viewpoint. If you are a serious boxing fan that looks at all aspects, um, you can appreciate a lot of what's going on, and you can complain about a lot of what's going on as well. But I don't think people highlight what we're actually getting enough. I'm not the type of person to say like don't complain and this, that, and the third. Like, you're a consumer. You should always complain because you always want the best product. But people don't acknowledge what we're actually getting in the sport of boxing. Like over the past year and a half, we've had a pretty damn good run. And I can make the argument that this year period may be one of the best years in terms of actual matchups in probably the last 10. I
Maybe
can
even the
make
last 20.
I can
Maybe
make the
even the last.
argument.
You can make the argument, bro. Like, this is the thing. Like, and we're gonna get into the Canelo fight itself, but we can. There's many retractors, many people who've taken a step back from boxing because they look at politics. But this is a situation where we see two people from two different promotional companies work with each other and make a big fight. We saw that also um when Wilder fought Fury.
Mhm.
Now, that wasn't an undisputed fight, but in my opinion, if fights like this can happen, maybe there's hope in the future. The truth is, it requires someone like a Eddie Hearn to send their fighter over to the other side um and fight the fight. But the truth is, when you look at the nitty gritty, you can even make unifications and undisputed fights in house. And it's just down to the fighters at the end of the day. The fighters are the ones who are in control. The fighters are the one who's going to be fighting. And when it comes down to it, the fighters should be the ones making the decisions. Before, I just felt like there was a priority in keeping your O. Now, I feel like there's a priority in having multiple straps. Having one belt isn't good enough because we've seen poor fighters be world champions. But to be a unified champion and undisputed, that's cementing your name in the history books. And
Yeah.
now we've gone from being a undefeated fighter to being a undisputed champion. That's now become the priority. You go from heavyweight all the way down to minimum weight. Most fighters, you ask them, their priority is probably to become undisputed.
Right. Right. Um, we got my guy Chris G in the building. Big shout out to Chris G. Said PBC fighters definitely don't have as much of a say as other company fighters. Let me address that real quick. First of all, big shout out to Chris G. That's family right there. I talk to him like every single day. Um, this Let me explain it this way, Chris. The structure of PBC is different than the structure of Top Rank, Eddie Hearn, things like that. But the bottom line is they're all the same. The finish line looks the same with every single promotional company. No fighter can go and basically take a fight without their promoters go. Like that's just what it is. And the difference is with PBC, Al Heyman has an advisory deal. So it's in his advisory contract. Eddie Hearn, Bob Arum, Oscar De La Hoya, that's in their promotional contract. So the business setup is different, but the finish line looks the same. As far as who is more willing to cross the street, Heyman is definitely last on the list. He's the most reluctant to send somebody across the street.
And that's not down to the fact that he's nervous or scared. I mainly think it's down to what he says or what people who represent his company say, and that's the fact that they don't want to make another company rich. I feel like where Eddie Hearn's a bit different, and I have to use him as an example. I feel like Eddie Hearn is always known. Like, I think deep down in Eddie Hearn's mind, he just sees it as right now I'm I'm on top of the game. And even if I send someone over there who's gonna lose, I'll still have another fighter. That's kind of how he looks at it. Eddie Hearn has a big stable of fighters, and he will send fighters to fight on other promotional companies, but he won't send his cash cows. That's the difference. You look at Al Heyman. Al Heyman ain't sending anyone. Whereas Eddie Hearn, he's just gonna send the people who's underneath his cash cow. He'll send anyone other than AJ and another cash cow who's in his stable. Right now, obviously, Canelo is isn't his fighter, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't mind sending Canelo over there because he's pretty confident that Canelo's gonna win. And he's
Yeah,
pretty confident that he knows that if Canelo wins and becomes undisputed, he's a much easier fighter to market.
yeah. But I actually want to get into why uh, Al Heyman and PBC made this deal with Canelo, because to my understanding, it's a one fight deal,
Yeah.
which I know I said before didn't make any logical sense as far as Al Heyman is concerned. But I'm gonna dig into my business hat, my Al Heyman bag, and I'm gonna put this theory out there on why I think Al Heyman and PBC actually
I have a
agreed to
feeling
this.
that I have a feeling we have the same theory.
Okay, so this is the first time that Canelo has been on quote unquote pay per view in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's number one. Number two, um, it's in Vegas and not Texas. So whenever you're talking Vegas fights, you're talking live gate and the amount that comes from the live gate. That's the second thing. The third thing is that it's not a secret that PBC is in the process of trying to get another TV deal that's that's not to replace Fox. Like, no secret. Okay. Now I'm just gonna paint this picture real quick. So if Canelo and Caleb Plant is successful, then we're talking probably, I would say successful is probably I would say what, about like 700,000 for
Mm-hmm.
Canelo. Seven
Seven,
hundred,
eight, seven, between
yeah,
7 and 8.
between 7 to 800,000 um, for Canelo and Caleb Plant on a PBC pay per view. That's all that Al Heyman needs to actually leverage a company to give him a deal, a TV deal. If you know Al Heyman always uses the biggest leverage he can possibly get
Mm-hmm.
to get the big network deal, to get the big
The,
TV deal.
the 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 reason why I agree, and I'll even go a step further, is when you looked at um his list of fights from, let's say, before the summer, he was in a position at the negotiating table where he can say, you know what, I'm gonna hold my ace because I have Errol Spence Pacquiao, I have Benavidez fighting, I have Wilder Fury fighting, because at that time Wilder Fury is supposed to be in July 24th.
Mhm.
Now, with Wilder Fury being in the air, Errol Spence Pacquiao being cancelled, Benavidez not fighting, it's like, okay, now I don't have a marquee fight anymore. That's the difference.
He had to sign it. He had
Yeah,
to sign
he
it.
had to sign it
He had to
because
sign it.
if he allowed Canelo to go to another broadcast, another fight, Canelo fight somebody else, he would still do massive numbers. But
Yeah.
where's Al Heyman's pulling power? Where's his compete? Because if you think about it, if he fought on the zone would have AJ fighting 1 week, and the next week will be Canelo. That would be ridiculous.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, so you have a combination of Al Heyman's trying to maneuver himself to get the next TV deal, which is not going to be easy for him. It is not going to be easy. If you had a lot of people praise Al Heyman and Al Heyman takes care of his fighters, yes, all of that is true. But Al Heyman has burned a lot of TV network bridges, a lot of them.
Indeed.
Um, so Fox is possibly done. HBO obviously done. He had
Showtime. I mean, because
Showtime is, Showtime is Showtime. Um, Spike TV done. Um, so he doesn't have too many other places to go. From what I was hearing, he's looking to do a streaming deal with Paramount. But the thing with Paramount is everything is owned by the same company. So they see the Showtime numbers and they see the Showtime numbers is low. So the chances of him getting that type of a deal, I don't know. But that's the
and he doesn't
problem.
have the marquee fights. He doesn't have the marquee
Yeah.
fights to
And then
generate the
he
numbers.
doesn't, yeah. So to be honest with you, all the big companies, I'm like, could he funnel everything back to Showtime? Yeah, he could, but that means Showtime had to open up a bigger budget, which
Yeah.
their numbers don't prove that Showtime will actually open up a bigger budget for him. Um, when you go beyond that, they're probably not going to renew a Fox deal. Obviously, HBO's out of business. Then ESPN is off of the table. The Zone is off of the table. Where else is there for him to go in terms of actually getting a network deal? Because all of his leverage comes from the TV deals. The TV deals opens up the wallet. It opens up the wallet for everything. He can basically overpay his fighters and all of that. But he's walking a real fine line right now. So he had to sign that Canelo deal. He had to. He didn't have any choice because he's gonna have to walk into some exec's office and say, "Hey, listen, I did 850,000 with Canelo Alvarez," and I'm thinking maybe he can pitch something to Canelo and say, "Hey, you can get a piece of this network deal pie," which is a little different than the zone deal. So it's a risk. You know what I'm saying? It's a risk. Hold on. YSM Sports Media. Big shout out to YSM. Um, Al Heyman checks after all of my events. Drake. I feel you, bro. The thing with Al, like, you don't see him, you don't hear him, but everybody has a feeling like they know him. You know what I mean? Like, it's the weirdest thing
The
ever.
truth is, yeah,
You
the
know what I mean?
truth is, Al Heyman could be someone who goes to every show. He literally been out of the scene for so long. He literally could have just changed how he looks and his appearance. This dude could be like a fat man with a bald head, and nobody would know because this guy
Nobody
just.
would know. Yeah, exactly. Nobody would know. But it's interesting that this is probably the most lopsided deal that Al Heyman has ever signed for a fight that was not in his favor. Like, this is a completely
Can I ask you a question?
Mhm.
Who's picking the judges?
That's a good question. That's a damn good question. Hold on. Al is the only guy selling pay-per-views. Eddie Hearn has fired the whole Matchroom US staff. Um, yeah, that's true, but at
But
the same time, go ahead, Sean.
the truth is he doesn't really need the matching stuff, the matching USA stuff. Let's keep it real. How much Matchroom USA fights has he done this year? He done Andrade, he done Devin Haney. He lost basically most of his Matchroom fighters. He lost Michael Hunter. He used to have Tevin Farmer. He doesn't have anymore. Who else did he have? Who else did he have? He had Danny Roman. Don't have him anymore. Who else did he have? He had Jesse Vargas. I don't know if he still has him. Doubt it. I mean, he had Mikey Garcia. I don't know what's going on with that situation. Golovkin's supposed to be fighting in Japan, so all of his fighters that's supposed to be his fighters. And I don't want to say Canelo because Canelo is co-promotional. I'm talking about his fighters, his stable. Why does he need a matchroom stuff if he ain't got no matchroom fighters?
Yeah. He said that's my point. The American takeover flopped. Uh,
I don't
he
think his
said
intent. I don't think it flopped.
he said I'm not
I don't.
happy about it.
I don't
I
think it flopped. I don't think it
I
flopped at
I
all.
think I think um I think what Eddie tried to do in the beginning, I think he quickly realized it's too much politics in the US for
Yeah,
him to do exactly what he wanted to do. Um, so if you want to use the word flopped, you can. I just think he understood. I think he has a full understanding now of the landscape that he's in terms of the US. I think he has a full understanding of his niche in the US, and he's going back to his original style. Like basically, I'm gonna do what I do as far as the UK. As far as the US, I'm gonna get in where I fit in, but I understand the landscape is too much going on.
I just feel like Eddie Hearn is always gonna be in a power play in the sense that, and I've been massively critical of Eddie Hearn, but he's always gonna generate large sums of money. You can't really compare him to anyone else because he's doing shows literally all over the globe. Um, the reason why I say the USA takeover doesn't really, you can't really say it flopped is because he signed Canelo. So I mean, look at Canelo's fight since he's been with since Eddie Hearn's been in America. Canelo versus Fielding, that was a co-promotional deal with Matchroom. Canelo versus Danny Jacobs, co-promotional deal with Matchroom. Then it was Canelo versus Kovalev, that was with ESPN. But then Canelo versus it was basically most of Canelo's fights have been either a co-promotional deal with Matchroom or strictly on the Matchroom. You know, you don't really need to do anybody else. If you got Canelo, you got the ace in the hole. Literally, he gave up all his other American fighters: Kevin Farmer, Andrade, Danny Jacobs, Danny Roman, Mikey Garcia, all of those dudes just to have Canelo.
He said a double flopper with peas and onions. That's funny. You know the thing though, like I think he realized that um he can't take American fighters and actually make the moves that he want to make in the US strictly because he needs the cooperation of the competition. And they wasn't going to cooperate with him. That's just what it came down to. Like they weren't going to cooperate with him at all. Um, so when he had Seven Farmer, when he had Andre, he had Danny Roman. He needs the assistance of Aram, Heyman, Oscar to make the fights that would put them, you know, up there. And they just wasn't willing to help him. But I think he
You can see it right now, though.
realized that. So
You can see
going
it
back
right now
to
with Devin Haney. Look at Devin
yeah.
Haney. He can't
So
even get a
going
fight.
back, yeah, going back to YSM's original statement, said Eddie Hearn has fired the whole Matchroom USA staff. Um, is really not a make or break for Eddie Hearn strictly because he wasn't going to be able to do what he was trying to do anyway. So it's like, in a sense, he was kind of holding them back. He had a vision, but it was just, when the waters is too polluted, you know what I'm saying, to carry out the vision, he could have been a prick about it and like held them hostage. You know what I'm saying? And just continue to, what I'm saying, like try to make it work, try to make it work.
You know the
But
problem that I'm seeing right now is Matchroom. The Zone have invested a lot of money in Matchroom, and part of that is the US market. How is he going to continue? Because really and truly, all he does have is Canelo.
yeah, and Eddie is still in the process of trying to find his niche. Like you trying to come to a whole different country, it takes a while for you to to find your niche. At the end of the day,
I don't
um,
think it's that though. I don't think it's that. No, I don't think it's that because I just feel like he just doesn't have the stable of fighters to make in-house fights.
you talking about in the U.S.
In the US, yeah, in the US, because the reason why Al Heyman's who he is because he just has so many fighters. He just makes in-house fights, and the in-house fights are massive fights. I mean, Eddie Hearn hasn't made one massive fight because he's tried to keep everything in-house. But even though it's in-house, it's just not big enough because he doesn't have a good enough stable.
Yeah. $5 super chat from my guy YSM. I'm probably going to put this $5 towards lunch with me and him anyway. Uh, he said, "You can't preach that you are gonna take over and then fire the whole USA staff and it not be a flop." I'll say this: if you want to go based off of his wording, then yeah, you can
I
say
mean,
that.
the fact that he said
Yeah,
he's going to
it's
take
kind of
over
like
America, he
yeah,
definitely didn't. He didn't even
it's
scratch the surface.
yeah. YSM is equivalent to when LeBron James went to Miami, and he said not five, not six, not seven championships. It's like people, we take people's words literally depending on who says them. So when Eddie Hearn says, "Yeah, I'm coming to take over the United States," and you end up where
But
he is now.
when he said that, he built enemies, and that's the problem. Because he built enemies, and he didn't. That meant that people like Bob Arum and Al Heyman didn't want to work with him.
He didn't want even if he didn't make enemies, he was going to run into the same fate anyway. They wasn't going to help him regardless. They weren't going to help him regardless. And it's just it's simple business. Like if I was in that position, I'm not going to help him. I'm not going to help him. Like you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not going to help. Like I'm not. You're not going to tell me you're going to take over something where I'm staying, and then I'm going to help you take over. Like it just doesn't make any sense.
No.
Like you know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense at all. Like so. Yeah, I mean, when you put it that way, yes, you
But
can definitely make that case.
when was the last historic fight match you made? Historic
Historic in whose eyes, though?
boxing fans.
Mm, I couldn't even tell you, bro.
It's hard to say because I'm looking at them and I think when in terms of matchmaking, 'cause I know their budget's amazing. I know they got money and they're gonna have fighters, but they haven't made a massive fight to me. They haven't made any massive fights to me.
It's been a bunch of this.
Yeah,
Just you know,
like to me,
solid.
Pacquiao and Errol Spence was a massive historic fight. Fury and Wilder, massive fight, historic fight. Can't really remember there being a historic fight out of matchings.
Man, it's been solid at best. I would say
Yeah,
solid
solid, but
fights
they're
for the
not
most part.
historic.
Not historic though. But I don't think he has the cards to put on historic. You know what I
AJ
mean?
versus Fury is historic.
My man Toshi is in the building. He said, "Why does Shane dislike Matchroom?" That is specifically for you, Shane.
I don't dislike matching. I'm talking the facts. I'm literally speaking the facts. In terms of matchmaking, he hasn't made one historic fight. He hasn't made one, and he hasn't made one historic fight. Like even if you're talking about English fans, from an English perspective, the one last historic fight I remember him making was AJ versus Klitschko. I can't think of another historic fight, bro. In my mind, I can't think of one.
And the next what the one that's gonna be historic is if AJ beats Usyk and he actually gets the winner of Wilder Fury.
Yeah,
That's gonna be his historic
that
fight.
that's that's a historic
That's a
fight.
historic fight.
But other than that, like let's keep it real. To me, if he managed to get Gennady Golovkin Canelo free, which I don't think is a great fight, but it will be something that go down in the history because it's a trilogy. I
Is
think
that historic though?
because the first two were, the third one will go down as a it's a trilogy, isn't it? So I think maybe. I mean,
I guess.
that's the fact that we're clutching at straws because there's what else can we actually say this guy's doing to say that I can't see anything. If I'm being honest.
Toshi also said Chocolatito versus Estrada.
That's an
Canelo
amazing
fights.
fight. That's an amazing fight. In my opinion,
Was
that's an
it?
amazing fight.
That's about as close to historic
That's
as
about,
he's put on.
but let's keep it real. And as hardcore fans, I would even say, you know what, that's a massive fight. But when we speak about taking over the sport or making a step, you don't really do it with lower weights. As much as I rate Chocolatito and Estrada, I thought that fight was amazing, and it's my fight of the year so far. I don't really think that's something in 15 years' time, 20 years' time that fans are gonna talk about. They're gonna talk about AJ, Klitschko, Fury, and Wilder. They're gonna talk about Spence and Crawford if they fight. They're going to talk about Canelo and Golovkin. They're going to talk about Spence and Pacquiao. They're not going to talk about that. They're not going to talk about those fights. They're going to speak about if AJ fights Fury. He hasn't made a fight that fans are going to talk about, and that's the problem.
Yeah, and
Every other promoter has. Teofimo Lopez Lomachenko, to me, that's a historic fight.
yeah. I mean, it's Toshi to kind of address it a little bit more. Matchroom and Eddie Hearn has set a certain standard for themselves with their own words. Like if they would have came in quiet, then we would have looked at it a little bit different. But when you set the bar and then you don't meet your own bar, then you leave people like us to say, "Hey, like you didn't meet your own bar." That's
But
why they always tell you to. That's why they tell you to promise low and overachieve, and to
but
promise high.
he was very naive, and you can look at even
Absolutely.
when he goes into negotiations, he was naive. He was naive with the AJ and Fury negotiations, and he's even naive now because if you look at him, he took a massive L. You know, him and the Zone took a massive L. They invested so much money in Billy Joe Saunders, Yildirim, and Callum Smith for the undisputed fight to just be on Fox. That is so funny.
Yeah,
If you think about it, they took a L, bro. What did
but
they
that's
invest all that
why.
money for?
But that's why this. But that's why this statement is true. You can't
Yeah,
preach that you were going to take over and then fire the whole USA staff and it not be a flop.
I
That's the
mean,
thing. Is he? They invested all of that money, and now the unification is on a whole different network.
and
Like
the
it's
funniest thing
just
is, he basically made it easier for Al Heyman to sell. He made it so easy for Al Heyman to sell. You made him so active. You made literally promoted him for these trash fights. Al Heyman didn't have to do no promotion. Literally, thank you for giving me your ace, and you literally just gave it away. Like that is some
yo,
schoolboy
like that's
promotion.
like that shit is like upgrading a female that you with, and then after she get upgraded, she leave for somebody else. Like
Literally,
that's literally what.
that's like taking her to the spa, to the mall, making her buy all of these clothes and all of that, making her like exercising everything. She's looking prime, and you take her to the club and somebody else leaves with her. That's
Mm-hmm.
exactly what it is,
That's
bro.
exactly what happened. Yeah, like so it's like that's Toshi. That's not disliking Matchroom. That's just telling it the way it is. Like it is, like it is what it is. But that's the game you play. You know when it comes down to boxing, like um, they should have handled that situation a lot better. You know, period. You know what I'm saying? They'd have been better off trying to get, even though it probably wouldn't have happened. They would have been better off overpaying for Caleb Plant even more than what he's getting now to try to get him the crossover to the zone. Like I don't even think
No,
they were in a position to make that happen.
the problem with that is though, Al Heyman ain't sending nobody. So
Yeah,
that was the
that's true. Yeah, yeah.
that was the negotiations. And the truth is, Eddie Hearn doesn't have enough of a pull or pull on Canelo. Because if you think about it, if Canelo was like, oh, what do I do? Do I go for undisputed or do I stay with Eddie? It's an easy decision. I'm gonna go undisputed. Whereas Caleb Plant don't have that decision. There ain't no decision. It's that you staying with Al Heyman. That's it. There's no
He can't do
round.
anything.
No, can't do anything.
You think this fight competitive?
Oh, of course not. 1 second, bro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Toshi, but yeah, it's not dislike towards Matchroom at all. Like we actually like Eddie, and what he brings to the table. You know, it's just some moves that were made. You know what I'm saying? Like he kind of just got caught up. You know, and that's just what it is. That's how it works sometimes. You know what I'm saying? You can't win them all. You know, but
But yeah, do I think the fight's competitive? No, I don't think it's competitive. I think it's an easy Canelo win.
you thinking what like 80-20?
80, 85, 80, 75, 25.
75-25. Okay. Uh, YSL the zone always showed me love. I'm gonna miss them in the U.S. This is bad for boxing. Hey, they gave me my first credential. So they
The
showed me
reason why
love
they
as
did
well.
that was because they were desperate.
Hey man, I take you hand me a T-bone steak and you handed it to me because it looked like I'm desperate. That's cool. Bottom line is I
N-
got a T-bone
No,
steak.
no, but when I'm saying it, I mean like
Yeah, like they
I'm saying it to YSM in the sense that they don't really care about none of us. They don't care about any of
yeah,
us. They care about themselves. So
yeah,
don't feel sorry for them. No, I don't care about the zone. Like I don't care about any. As long as you're providing me boxing. If boxing was on literally, if boxing was on, I don't even know Netflix. I'll pay for Netflix. Wherever boxing is on,
yeah.
that's
Wherever
where I'm
best
gonna
it
be
is. That's
watching. I
I'm
don't
like
care.
I don't have no alliances. When coming out of these networks and things like that. I
If they
really
pay
don't.
me, if they paid me,
Then
and so
yeah, like that's something different. My guy Bleeds Philly 215 is in the building. Bleeds Philly 215. What's going on, big bro? Um, yeah, I let me explain this real quick as far as is this fight competitive? Caleb Plant is I don't like the level of competition he's been in the ring with. And that's my main problem. Uh skill wise, he could give Canelo some problems. Um he has a lot of the things that I would say a fighter needs to give Canelo problems. He has the hand speed, he has the boxing IQ, he has the movement. Here's the thing: when it comes down to it, um, I don't know if he has the mentality to go get it. You
can
know
I
what I
address
mean?
Blaze Philly? In fact, you address
Let me
Blaze Philly.
just let
You
me
address Blaze
hold
Philly.
on. Blaze Philly 215. I just want to say boxing is a fucking mess. Let me get into that real quick. It depends on how you're looking at it. And I said this a little bit earlier. Um, in a sense, you can consider it a mess because of some of the politics that's going on, things like that. Some of these exhibition fights and all of that. It from that angle, from a Triller type, MMA guys, Jake Paul, Logan Paul. If you're looking at it from that angle, yes, you could say boxing is a mess in a sense. But if you're looking at it from a hardcore standpoint, like we said earlier, I can make the legitimate claim that if none of these other fights get canceled, this is probably one of the best years of actual fights being put together, probably in the last 10 years.
Or
I can
20
make
years.
I can make the case in
I would
terms of
say 20 years.
fights and
I would say 20
significance.
years.
I
I would
wouldn't
say
go
20 years.
20, 10. Only reason I'm saying 10 because I'm like, I know for sure I can make the argument for
No, but
10.
someone has to, as I said, there's never ever in the history of this sport been 10 unified champions. Well, not in the history, but in the free belt era. There's never, which has been in 1983. There's never been 10 unified champions at the same time. There's never been three undisputed fights in the same year. There's never been as much unifications at the same time in the history of the sport, bro. Never.
Yeah, it's
There's
I can yeah, I can
all in the same
legit
1 year.
all in one year. I can legit make the argument. I can legit make the argument. And that's a and the thing is, this year getting shortchanged because Earl Spence got hurt. You'd have had to add Pacquiao and Spence into the equation as well. So, Andre Southgate is in the building. Big shout out to you, family. He said, "What's up? All tuned in. Appreciate you, big bro." YSM, he said, "I only feel sorry because this was another outlet for fighters to get paid and for me to get footage. They threw a major card in Philly when nobody was. No, that's a fact. That's a
No,
fact. Now, hold. Let me say something real quick before you jump off, Shane. Um, YSM to address your comment, you're saying it in the same sense that we're saying it. Like they were providing a service that we wanted. So if they were going to provide a service that we wanted, like we was rocking with them.
I,
You know what I'm saying?
but I get that YSM. But the reason why, and this is me being fair, the reason why it didn't work was, and the US fans have to look at themselves. They didn't invest in the zone enough. That's just the truth. Or they didn't invest in boxing enough. Because Eddie Hearn tried to literally sell boxing to these different places that never had boxing before. He brought it back to Philly, he went to Providence, and he went to all of these different places.
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yeah,
He was, you
everywhere.
know what? Shane, I can say this. Eddie Hearn, sometimes I tell people this all the time. I'm like, you can give somebody, you can try to give somebody something, but if you're a little too innovative, that person may not be able to receive it at that particular time. I
Or
think what
even
Eddie was doing,
appreciate it. You
or
get people,
appreciate it,
yeah,
they're not in a position to embrace it or
because
appreciate it.
that's what he done in the UK. And American fans always be saying to me, "Oh, UK is so small." UK is so small. Why is it so much easier for him to sell 20,000? If 20,000 tickets is like 1% of your population. Literally, he's
Yeah,
going to different cities that's never had boxing. Like people should be appreciating that, but they're not.
yeah,
And that's why I feel like he just in all honesty, YSM, I feel like people have to look at themselves. If Eddie Hearn goes and he invests in another market, that's because the market he was in before refused to pay for what he had.
yeah. And I think, and another thing he ran into is simply like people, because he was the outsider. No matter what he brought to the table, whether it was good or not, they just wasn't gonna give him the credit he probably deserved. Andre Southgate, he said, absolutely, big fights coming up. Yeah, huge fights coming up, and it's been huge fights all year long. Bleeds Philly 215, he said, I don't agree. I have a different view on things. I'll ask you this, bro. Um, are your view on things more so you're looking at the whole Jake Paul, like Logan Paul, Floyd, and Chavez Jr. and Anderson
You heard David
Silva,
Hayes coming out of retirement. David Hayes
David
coming out.
Hayes coming out of retirement? Are you looking at it from that angle? Because if you are looking at it from that angle, I can understand that. But from a hardcore standpoint, there's no getting around it. Shane could run down about 15 fights that's happened this year alone that is highly significant.
Highly significant. I
Highly
can do it off
significant.
the dome,
Off
literally.
the Give it to him. Give it to him, Shane.
Well, we had Estrada versus Chocolatito.
That's
We
one.
had Brandon Figueroa, Luis Neri. We
Two,
had Stephen Fulton, Angelo Leo.
three,
We had let's go into another division. I just went into one specific division. We had Josh Taylor, Jose Ramirez. That
four,
was a massive fight. Castano Charlo.
five,
We had 168. You can say Canelo versus Billy Joe Saunders unification.
six,
You had 175, didn't really have much. Uh, let's think. Obviously, you got AJ Usyk, you got Wilder
seven,
Fury.
eight,
We were supposed to have Pacquiao, Errol Spence. That didn't happen.
nine. But we can throw that in. Nine.
Let's think.
Canelo Plant.
Canelo Plant.
That's 10.
I'm what? Let me go to another division. 100 and I can't even fit. You could say Tank Barrios. That was a good fight. I mean, Teofimo Lopez Lomachenko. That was the end of last year. That was a good fight. That
We
was a
can
big
throw that
fight.
in. That's 11. That's 11.
What else is there? I mean, I can't.
And
This is just
then
me.
Wilder Fury. We ain't say Wilder Fury.
Yeah,
12.
Wilder Fury. I mean,
12. Valdez and Oscar Valdez and we didn't mention that neither.
oh, Valdez and Bachel. I didn't
And
even mention.
Bachot. That's 13.
Yeah, I'm just trying to like
That's
off my mind.
13.
Oh, you had Carl Frampton versus what's it called in the back?
Jamel
Jamal
Herring.
Herring.
That's
That was
14.
yeah.
And then Jamel Herring and Shakur is this year too. That's
So Jamal
15.
Herring Shakur is this year. We
That's
might get
15.
Sean Porter, Terrence Crawford.
Crawford, that's 16.
I
So
mean,
that's why
you
I
got
said Blaze
prospects
Philly
coming
is
through as well. You got prospects coming through as well. You got like Jared Anderson, Boots, Victor Ortiz. You got
Virgil
prospects coming through. You
Ortiz.
had, I mean, Virgil Ortiz.
Virgil
Sorry, you had
Ortiz, yeah.
um
So
Devin
it's
Haney. You got good fights, man.
yeah. I mean, so I that's what I'm saying. Blaze Philly is you can look at it both ways. It's so many hardcore fights to where I can make the case that it's over the past 12 to 16 months, it's been premium. Like you know what I'm saying? Like it's been premium. But I'm kind of interested to see where you're at with it. YSM said, good point. Some of that is on Eddie though. Americans are temperamental. Don't ever say you are gonna take over if you are a foreigner. That's a fact. That's a
That's a fact.
fact. That's a fact. Uh he said no, not at all. Not at all. Man, stop it. Um send me the damn link.
What's he talking? What does he mean by
I don't
stop?
know what he's talking about. It's in the chat. It's in the chat. I'll send it again. But
I mean, if you're
hold
talking
on, hold
about
on, hold on,
those,
hold on, hold on, hold on. So I'll even go before I put the link back into the chat. Let's just take the top fights, period. If they all jump off, like if they would have all jumped off, AJ Usyk, that's one.
Errol Spence, Pacquiao,
Pacquiao, two.
Wilder Fury,
Three,
um, Canelo Plant,
four,
and in my opinion, Jose Ramirez versus Josh Taylor,
five,
Castano versus Charlo.
six. I mean, you get them fights all in 1 year. I
Yeah,
know I can speak of other years that we didn't get shit.
you have to name me a year where we got three undisputed fights. You have to name me
I
one.
I
You have to
the
name me
thing
one.
is, I know Blaze Philly 215 so well that when he gets in here, he's gonna tell me and YSM said Canelo, Billy Joe Saunders. That's another one.
Exactly.
Um Blaze Philly's gonna get in here, right? He's gonna get in here. He's gonna tell me boxing is a mess. He's gonna tell me the biggest fights aren't getting made. And I'm gonna ask him what. He's not gonna be able to give me anything.
There's only one fight. There's only one fight that I want to see made, and that's Terrence Crawford versus Pacquiao. But even with that said, we were gonna get Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence, sorry. But we were still gonna get Errol Spence versus Pacquiao, so we can't complain.
He said, thoughts on the WBC order Beterbiev the fight Marcus Brown.
Brown ain't gonna take that fight. Brown ain't gonna take that fight. I guarantee Brown ain't gonna. Brown is real chinny, and you're gonna go in the ring there with the.
I
He ain't
think
gonna take
he
that
is
fight.
gonna take it.
You think he's gonna take that fight?
Think
You
about
think
it,
he's
bro.
gonna take that fight?
Think about it.
He's gonna get embarrassed.
Listen. Think about it for a second. He showed he was chinny against somebody that had the whole GNC network in his system.
No, but he. It's not just in that fight though. He didn't. He got dropped.
That's the most recent though.
That's the most recent. That's the most recent.
That's the most recent. So in his mind, he's probably thinking, "Oh, well, I was going up against something superhuman."
Most likely, yeah. But you're gonna be going up
He's
against
gonna
something
take the
superhuman.
fight, and why is something? Yeah, see, he's gonna take that fight. He's gonna take it.
If he takes that fight, he's gonna get knocked out. I'll bet both of you. I'll bet both of you he gets knocked out.
No, I don't think Marcus Brown wins. I don't think Marcus Brown wins that fight. I don't think he wins that fight. My guy Blaze is in the building. Blaze Philly 215 is in the building. Listen, you have the floor. I ain't even gonna get in your way, bro. Go ahead.
All right, so now when y'all were saying all about these fights, right? Honestly, y'all, I didn't care about none of those fights at all. I mean, for the casual boxer, right? That's good for us, right? But if we're trying to grow this sport and everything and get boxing, out there, so newcomers that come, people don't care about none of those fighters, to be honest with you. So,
but then you might as well then watch KSI if you want.
now that's why I think a lot of the focus is going over to MMA, and why MMA is growing better than boxing at the point, because a lot of the shit that's going on in boxing, a lot of the top headlines go on outside of the ring.
I can agree with that.
Can I ask you a question, Blake?
Sure.
What's the highest purse for a fighter in the MMA?
Nah, I'm not talking about money right now. I mean, I really don't know. I don't know the demographics of the sport.
I may explain why a lot of people make this statement. Oh, MMA is so much better than.
No, I didn't say it's better. I don't enjoy MMA better.
Oh, there's attention. There's attention. A lot of the attention is going there. Now, this is the problem that I feel like like a lot of boxing fans say. A lot of the attention is going there. Now, forgive me because I'm not in the States, but all of this attention is going to MMA. But these fighters are getting 3.5 million, 2 million. I mean, the highest paid fighter is on 7.5 million. I mean, that's how much Billy Joe Saunders got paid more than that to fight Canelo. And
all right, so if you want to put it like that, then the two can't compare, because boxing has been around for ages before. MMA is pretty much a baby at the sport, and
but you can't say they're getting attention if there's no money.
No, it's money there, because
why they ain't getting paid?
Money, they would never be on pay. They're on pay-per-view. I see more MMA fights go pay-per-view than I see boxing going right now.
Then why they not getting paid? That's all I want to know. Why they not getting paid?
Honestly, that doesn't have anything to do with my argument, but I can't. I'm not going to answer that because I don't have an answer for that.
What fights would you want to see for you to kind of change your view on?
A lot of these fights that were canceled. The Earl Spences and the Wilder fight, and like I said, a lot of that stuff, a lot of those headlines, and these guys ain't even got in the ring. None of them. I understand. And then what's bad about it, when I heard about the Earl Spence thing, I said his career is over. And now they're coming out talking about his career might be over, because that's the same injury that ended Sugar Ray's career for a while. And he was never the same after that. And everybody's seen that Garcia fight, he didn't look the same. He didn't look the same to me.
You can even see the same thing with Kell Brook.
Yeah,
right.
Kell Brook had
but
the
his
same
was
injury.
orbital. His was a bone. His wasn't tissue like Earl Spence's. Earl Spence's tissue. Kell Brook broke his orbital bone. This is the same injury that Sugar Ray had. This was a retinal issue. And if you can't see out your eye, you can't judge death. How you gonna swing somebody you don't know where to? Yeah,
you can't. So
fight.
It
could be that could be the end of his career. When I first heard about this injury, I said that's career ending, and they're acting like this is something small. I thought
the same thing.
And so that leads me back to my point of where boxing is, because they're lying to us. They don't know what's going on. They can't make these fights. They can't keep these fights together. They can't find venues. They can't get these boxers in the ring to fight each other. They're fighting no-name guys getting robbed blatantly on national TV.
That's a fact. I agree with
that's what I'm saying. A lot of it, boxing is a fucking mess right now, man. It's nothing but horrible headlines.
So I'm glad you actually jumped on and actually clarify, because some of that stuff I do agree with.
That's what
some
I mean.
Of that stuff.
I don't mean where.
All right, I can understand that. I can understand that.
Now, when it comes to like I said, the fights y'all were talking about, a lot of those fights I probably cared about too. Or maybe I know you said Teofimo Lopez and Lomachenko. I cared about that. I think that was the biggest fight of the year, and that was the beginning of this year. We can't even say Tyson Fury and Wilder, because that hasn't even happened in this year. That was last year.
I get you, but this is my point, yeah. And firstly, that fight's gonna happen, Wilder Fury. In order for you to get your money, that fight's gonna happen.
I honestly don't think that fight's gonna happen. I'm in I done
But I
fell
said
off.
that.
I don't
I
think
said
that's
I didn't
happening.
think the fight was going to happen.
Hold
Hold
on.
before I make hold on, Blaze. Before I make the same mistake again, let me get through these comments real quick. YSM said Jacobs moving up to 175 to fight Joe Smith.
That's been around.
No, but he's not fighting Joe Smith
So
yet.
all right, so
He's
pause
not. Joe
on
Smith is
that
actually fighting
comment
somebody
right
else.
there. That proves my comment right there. Only people that watch boxing care about that type of stuff. Jacobs moving up to fight Joe Smith. Most boxers, I mean, people that don't watch boxing wouldn't even know who those two guys were and care about that
That's
fight.
a fact, yeah, that's true, but we are people that care about boxing.
But the
so
fight,
I don't know.
So what I'm saying, that's where my argument comes in. I want to grow boxing. So if these guys can't get in the ring, the top can't fight the best, and have like cars like Jacob and Joe Smith on the undercard, so they can get their name exposed. We can't grow it. We can't grow this sport, man. That's why I'm saying boxing is a mess.
I feel like, and I'm not gonna lie, I feel like it's more the consumers. And when I mean consumers, I feel like what I have to say the American public, because that's the home of boxing. America is the home of boxing for a fact. The American public don't love boxing enough. That's just the truth. They love basketball, they love NFL, they don't love boxing enough.
And you know what? Where I place the blame in, I place the blame on the sport for that. Because when we were growing up, me and Drake were growing up, boxing was huge. Boxing was one of the biggest sports you could fucking imagine. When it was a big match, a pay-per-view match, the whole everybody's watching that fight. Everybody, it's on the front page. When Mike Tyson got knocked out by Buster Douglas, it was on the front page of the Philadelphia newspaper. So that boxing has the potential to do that. So the way they're selling it to the fans nowadays,
it still does that though. When Wilder and Fury was fighting, was that not on the front page of the newspaper in America?
Exactly. That's a huge fight. That was the biggest fight of that year. I mean, I agree with that. I agree with that, but they can't get these fighters back in the ring with each other, right?
The truth is, one second, Jeff. The truth is, though, when you look at when you guys were kids, you guys can only talk about Tyson or a handful of fighters. So that's the truth. Only a handful of fighters.
I can go.
No, in terms of that was on the front of a newspaper. You can only talk about a handful of fighters. So you will never see a Joe Smith Jr. or a Jacobs on the front of a newspaper because they're not in that few. But you'll see a Wilder, you'll see a Pacquiao, you'll see a Errol. I don't know. Like, I'm not in America, but I'm assuming.
And you're making my point even more. The boxing has more superstars nowadays, so you think they would be more bigger than what they are.
I don't agree with that.
But you don't think they have?
It was way more. No, it was way more superstars back in the day. Like compared to like right now, I'm talking about like general public, casual fan superstars. No, it was more back in the day than it is now.
All right, let me rephrase that. I'm saying that they had just as much as guys are the potential to be superstars and that are superstars at the moment, technically.
I agree with Blaze. I agree with Blaze on that. Because if you think about it, I think Canelo,
I just believe the
Wilder,
talent level is way better than what it was when we were younger.
I agree with Blaze on that. The truth is, I just don't think the consumers want, because you can say that but boxing people, the general public don't even watch the fights. If they watch the fights, they will see quality. Like literally, they will see quality, but they don't even watch it. So you can't chastise something if you ain't watching it. That's what I don't understand. You're gonna have to explain that to me.
So let me give you an example, right? So every time, I know that people hate Mayweather, but every time he fought, right, on pay-per-view, the casual fan that does not watch boxing was watching Mayweather fight because they wanted to watch him lose. They didn't watch Mayweather fights to watch him win. They wanted to see if he was going to lose. That's how he got people to turn in. Now, with these boxers nowadays, there's no drama in these fights because we know who technically should be winning the fight. I mean, you can't really say who's going to win and lose a fight nowadays because, so many factors. You got to worry about judges and everything else, cheaters and everything else, how it goes in the boxing ring. But that's what sells fights, the drama. I mean, you're gonna have to get these guys named. People don't know who the Charlo brothers are, and these guys are supposed to be potential superstars. They don't know who Shakur Stevenson is, Devin Haney's. They don't know who Boots Ennis is. There's a reason why, because they're not promoting these guys right.
I just think that's America, bro. I just think that's America.
I
I
think
don't know.
that's everywhere. I believe that's
Nah,
everywhere.
it's not.
Yeah.
I
No, it's
don't
not
think.
everywhere.
Nah, that's not. That's not. I tell you that for free.
But if the thing is, like, boxing is not even top 5 in the states in terms of sports. It's not even top 7
because it's a shit product now to me, man. And
it's not even that.
That's byproduct. That's
Even if it was a great product, Bleeds, we can name 6 different sports off the top of our dome that's more popular. Even if boxing was in a great space, we can name 5 or 6 off the top of the dome.
The thing about that, when you put it in that fashion, to me, when it comes to that, if you're going to say the sports genre, boxing has its own space, just like football has its own space, just like baseball has its own space. Boxing is there for is money to be made, and there's a lot of more money that if they fucking get these guys to fight each other and stop the bullshit out, the politics out the ring, and I mean put the shit in the ring and put the product in the ring, I guarantee you it'll be better than what it was or what it is right now.
The truth is, I just feel like a lot of, and you brought it up, it's drama. But nowadays, what's being promoted, in my opinion, when I'm watching it, is skill level, and people don't care about skills. People just care about, as you said, drama.
But
people just want to watch
going to sell a
WWE.
fight. But you can't even get these guys in the ring. I mean, the drama is fine. I mean, you know, drama sells. But they can't even get these guys to the ring. We can't even get these guys to put their name on contracts.
What fight do you want to see?
Sit there and talk too much
you want to see.
That's where I'm at. Like,
I
understand what I understand what you're saying. I just wonder what's the fight you want to see.
Oh man, we got plenty of fights I want to see. I want to see, Canelo against one of the Charlo brothers. It's plenty of fights that can be made. We didn't talk about this in Boots Ennis. We got so many fighters in one division that don't fight each other. Like,
okay, so list me 5. I'll actually list me actual 5 because there's I'm gonna give you a response to when you list me 5.
Give me 3.
Give
me 3.
Give me 3.
If we want to even just talk, or we're talking about mega fights, or we're talking about just regular fights, if we're talking about just regular fights, I can go
personally want to see
the mega fight. We need to get the closure to Deontay Wilder and Fury. We got to get that closure. So, what else? Another fight I want to see Canelo fight at least 3 fights. The Charlos or what's the guy's name? Boo Boo. Who else can he fight? Who else been calling Canelo out? Everybody that's been calling Canelo out.
Yeah, so one of those Benavidez, okay, and then the last fight.
Okay.
What's another one? Terrence Crawford versus Earl, but we don't even know if we're ever going to see that.
Okay, fight. So facts. Those 3 fights I would love to see. I'll deal with the first. I'll deal with the first one. When you talk about the Fury and Wilder fight, the reason why that fight does amazing for boxing is because it does bring the general public in. But what it does for boxing subsequently, though, is it takes because Tyson Fury is the worst fighter for boxing because he doesn't actually do anything for the sport long term. This guy will fight and have a massive hiatus and not fight for another year and a half or whatever. That's not good for boxing. We need consistently high level fights. So I agree, that's a massive fight, but I'm not a massive fan of Tyson Fury, so that's a good fight. When it comes to the Canelo fight, to me, Canelo versus Charlo, Canelo versus Boo Boo, Canelo versus Benavidez is literally the same as Canelo versus me, Canelo versus you. Literally doesn't make a difference because the truth is Canelo is going to generate numbers regardless.
Exactly.
So that doesn't really matter.
That's your superstar. You might as well live off him. If you're going to make him the face of boxing, make him the face of boxing. Don't put him in there with ancient guys or tomato cans. I know he's going to beat. I don't think that it makes a difference to the general public. They're going to tune into Canelo regardless. That's my opinion.
Hold on.
I can't see that.
Big shout out to my guy YSM. YSM, before you get started, let me run through these comments real quick.
Go ahead.
Tony's reviews, he says MMA fighters don't get paid because Dana takes all of their money. Tony's reviews, there is not an Ali Act in MMA to protect the fighters.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
That's
if you
funny.
remove the politics out of this bullshit, if these guys had governing bodies or something, in place like football, I mean, someone to regulate shit and make shit fair for these fighters and these promoters or whatever way they want to make it, this shit would sell with no problem. But the politics just bring shit down, man. Like,
YSM, go ahead, bro.
I believe. How about this? I believe boxing should have a schedule just like football, baseball, and everything. You must abide by that fucking schedule.
Oh, Blaze brings up some interesting points, right? But like, while his message is good, it's a couple of things that he kind of left out. All right, so the reason why NFL and NBA and all those other sports are ahead of boxing is, number one, they have one central sanctioning body, and when the score is 25-14, it doesn't jump up to 28-25 at the end of the game.
Right.
Whoever who won when the clock hits 0-0, you know who won. You can see who won. Right. So that's the advantage that UFC. See, when people say MMA, UFC is doing well. MMA is really not doing well. Not doing better than boxing. Let me just say that. But I feel like the one thing that these other sports have over boxing, and I know this is going to sound funny, but they have white stars. You need white stars to be successful in America. American-born white stars. That's why NFL is number one.
All right. So why put a pin right there? The reason why they started MMA and those other fighting clubs is because white people can't box. That's what they went to. They know how to do. That's where it's at.
I'm not disputing that. Basically, what happened is the best fighters, as far as Caucasian, they came from the Irish, Italian, like Polish, right?
Agreed.
What happened is in America, those people went from being lower class to middle class, so they feel like they don't have to box anymore. Because let's be honest, boxing, the best boxers come out of poverty.
Yeah, that's right? The foundation of the sport. Foundation of the sport. All right,
so without the white casual fan, boxing is not going to reach the heights that we want. Boxing needs Caleb Plant.
I agree with you. Do you know why I'll go even double back on it? Because even when you would say the Ali times, the Mike Tyson times, boxing wasn't a big sport. They just had big names. There's a difference between being a big sport and having a big name. I 100% agree with you. Being a big sport is when no matter what, no matter who's fighting, people are tuning in. That's not happening in boxing. And I agree. I do think.
Yeah. So when Blaze
though.
Yeah, but when Blaze talks about, we need the best to fight the best, Blaze, what you got to understand is the casual fan doesn't even know who the best is.
What?
They don't know who Terrence Crawford is.
I don't necessarily agree with that because a lot of these fighters, there's only a certain amount at the top for me. A lot of these fighters like Tank Davis, a lot of these fighters like Terrence Bud Crawford, Earl Spence, a lot of these names are household names. And if they're not, and now if they're not outside of boxing, that's boxing's fault. These are the cream of the crop.
It's their fault too, because you have to know how to market yourself. Floyd Mayweather was in the same situation, and then he turned into Hollywood Hogan via Vince McMahon's advice.
And I agree with that, but everybody isn't Mayweather. Everyone wants to try to be Mayweather. You can't be that man. That's why the casual fans that didn't know nothing about boxing tuned into Mayweather's fights.
But
they see this cocky black man that never lost a fight, and then they send the average Joe Smo guy, white guy or black guy, or anybody else that's stepping in the ring with Mayweather, don't even care who their name is. They're stepping in there hoping that he loses to that man. That's how Mayweather sold his fight to me.
I agree, but 1 second, YSM. The reason why I have to agree with YSM even more is because in America, it's more race than patriotism. So the reason why AJ is so big is because of he comes from the UK because of patriotism. The reason why Canelo's so big is because he comes from Mexico. That's patriotism. The reason why Klitschko was so big was because he came from Eastern Europe and it was patriotism. In America, it's not patriotism, it's race. That's the foundation of it. And they're going to back race. They're not going to back, oh, he comes from the US, so I'm going to back him. No, he's a white man.
We all know that. We all know that.
So that's my point. That's why I agree with YSM.
Let me add on to it as well. Like, as far as fighters being household names, I think a telltale sign of that is can they walk down the street and get stopped? Can they literally walk down the street and get stopped? If Earl Spence walked down the street, there's a lot of different places where Earl Spence is not going to get stopped.
I'll tell you for a fact, if he comes here, he's getting stopped everywhere he goes.
Yeah,
hey Jeff, can I piggyback off that real fast?
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Do women know who you are? That's another one.
Yeah, do women know who you are? I will say this.
If women know who you are.
Women know who Tank is.
I was about to say that.
Wait.
Women know, and Adrian
That's
Broner.
what I said.
Women know who Tank is. Why? Because Tank
Mayweather.
got a girlfriend that was
Mayweather.
the baby mom of a rapper. So he became relevant outside of boxing. You need to become relevant outside of boxing.
And listen, and I can make the claim, right? If AB, Spence, and Bud Crawford was walking down the same street, AB's gonna get more attention than Bud and Spence.
You damn right.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
So it goes into so I like what YSM is saying. I like what Blaze is saying. And it's almost like we got to put it all in the one bowl and kind of combine it because everybody has solid points when it comes down to it. A lot of these fighters, like, they're not going the extra mile to promote themselves. Even if you want to take it from like a YouTube perspective, and YSM, you can I'm pretty sure you can vibe with this. Like, I was told, like, no matter what business you're in, you have to be just as much into the actual marketing and promotion than the actual product. You have to be just as invested. So if you're not as invested in the promotion of yourself and the marketing of yourself, like take for instance, take a Shakur Stevens, take a Devin Haney. Let's go Devin Haney, right? Let's go Devin Haney. I feel like Devin Haney does the best that he can to promote himself, social media, things like that. Great boxer. Bottom line is he's not looked at in the same light as a Tank. You understand what I'm saying?
You want me to tell you the difference to me when it comes to Tank and Devin Haney? It's those spectacular knockouts Tank had.
I mean,
that's a lot why
that helps.
Tank is more known than.
And I believe all publicity is good publicity. He ain't beat up his wife. That's the main thing. I'm not gonna lie. AB, AB is always in the news for beating up somebody.
AB is top, in terms of popularity, AB is top 5 in the sport.
Yeah,
but people don't want to admit that. People don't want to.
Tank's been booked more times than Lucky Luciano. Like, we gotta call a spade a spade. Tank's always been booked. So
that's just. When that happens in sports in general, though. When it comes to that type of stuff, you know, when you've been labeled as the bad boy or whatever, that just comes with sports. But you know, he uses it to his advantage. Let's be real.
Yeah. But what? So this is the thing. When it comes down to it, now, from my personal opinion, I am satisfied with what I'm seeing. Now, I would love to see Errol Spence and Pacquiao, and I would love to see the fights that Blaze mentioned. Love to see those fights. Although I wouldn't love to see Wilder and Fury because I don't want to be paying that money.
Well, I honestly don't think that fight's going to happen, man. I don't. Like I said, he's not. I think Fury's going to do it this time. I think fighting AJ first. I don't lose the bet. I don't care.
What do you think? What do you think? Fury's going to retire?
Yo, I don't
know if he's going to retire. I think he's going to bullshit until Wilder moves on, and then that dissolves him from that contract.
How old is Wilder?
You know what I think will happen? I can tell you. I can definitely tell you.
I was like 36 or 37, maybe. So.
I think I can see Fury coming up with another excuse. I can see him coming up with another excuse.
They're already putting the baseline in for his daughter now, and now it's his daughter.
Now,
come on, man.
Now with October being in doubt, in my mind, is in doubt. When it comes down to it, he's going to put the WBC. He's going to put the WBC in a bind. So what I think is going to happen? I think Fury's going to come up with another excuse. I don't think the fight's happening October 9th. He's going to force the WBC's hand. They're going to put him as like champion in recess. You're going to get Dillian White. But you're going to get Deontay Wilder.
Remember, Dylan White has already put a subpoena on WBC because
I don't pay that no mind.
The only problem with all that is, though,
it strengthens your argument by him forcing the hand. It strengthens your argument, Jeff. But when you say Fury's gonna force his hand, I mean, it only makes logical sense if that fight gets pushed back. That's the only fight that would make sense.
From from the knowledge that I know, is that he can't fight anybody else. Right now, it doesn't have. I don't care about that belt. To me, Wilder doesn't give a fuck about that belt at the moment. It's about revenge at this point.
Mm-hmm.
He can't. Tyson Fury can't step in the ring with anybody else until he fights Deontay Wilder. That's the contract. Now, the only way I think he can get out of this contract is if Deontay Wilder breaks the contract, or he has to pay Deontay Wilder. He's not. He can retire all he wants. That even if he unretires and tries to come back, and then Deontay Wilder hasn't broken the contract, he still got to get back in the ring with Deontay Wilder.
Yeah, I get you.
There's nothing the WBO can do to break the contract.
Wilder have to waive it.
Yeah,
Wilder have to waive
it. Deontay has all the power at the moment.
Fury just went and started camp this week. 7 weeks before the fight.
He did that. He did the exact same thing before. He shut down his Instagram for a week, talking about to go training, and then he got COVID. I don't want to hear this shit. I'm not believing nothing until he says until I see him walking down the aisle into the ring.
And we know he didn't have COVID. Hold on, Tony's reviews. Let me get this out of the way. White stars, black stars sell more in boxing. LOL, Klitschko dominated the heavyweight division for over 10 years, and it is called the boring era of boxing. White stars have nothing to do with it. I wish YSM was still on here.
The truth is, that's why boxing has never been a big sport in America. It's always had big names. It's never been a big sport.
It's boxing. Boxing has big names to carry the sport. The sport as a whole never really been like top three. They always had. I
agree with that.
So I'll put it to that.
Hold
on. So let's take it back. Roy Jones carried the sport. Tyson carried the sport. Sugar Ray Leonard carried the sport. You know what I'm saying? Like Ali carried the sport. There's certain people
Mayweather
carries this. Mayweather carried the sport. There's superstars that are capable of carrying the sport. Nobody's carrying the sport.
Canelo.
I would go and say
he's the closest. Yeah, he's the closest. You can say he's carrying the sport. You can say
I don't think he's doing a great job of it, but he's definitely.
The truth is, the three heads are. If Tyson Fury was a better person, it would have been Fury, Wilder, and AJ. Because those three fights are just amazing.
I don't know, when you bring up Tyson Fury, it just turns me into a totally different person. So I can say I would agree with that. But there's so much bullshit in his career. I can't never give him his prop.
Hey Blaze, let me add this real quick. Like when you take stuff like like the dude gloves that had to get the wrapping had to get changed in the ring, the dude Michael Fox and Gabriel Maestro. Yeah. When you see things like that, it makes you feel like the Fury thing that he was getting accused of is possible. When you have things like that, so I might basically so you take that Michael Fox and Gabriel Maestro situation, right? So for the people that's not hardcores, let me explain to you guys how much it takes.
They didn't understand what was going on.
Yeah, let me break it down for the common boxing person, the person that's a casual to understand. So when you're in the back before the fight, you have to get your hands wrapped, and they have to be marked off, right? Your gloves have to be put on. That has to be marked off. This is prior to you coming to the ring. So the commission has to sign off on it. Your opponents should have a representative in there to also approve of it.
Oh, boy, we explain it all the way. They have to sign the tape.
The actual
around the boxing. I mean,
right?
Yeah, they have to have the tape right there.
It's like putting the signature on the bottom of a document. That's exactly what it is. Like you have to sign the bottom of the tape. You have to sign the actual glove. So it has to be the commission, the inspectors, and the opponent's representative has to approve of it before they walk out.
Yeah, the opponent's representative is not mandatory though. They don't have.
No, in some states it is.
Some states it is. It depends on where. Okay. Some of them is mandatory. So the fact that a fighter was able to walk to the ring with what they call a skinned glove, and they actually walked into the ring in a nationally televised event is insane. Like it's insane.
You know what, bro?
Wait. If you look at that fight, and when they were showing his wrist, there was no signature on it at all.
Which makes it even worse because
he got it signed and then put more tape, or either put more tape or he took that wrapping that they signed off of that glove. What's going on in boxing? Like they're doing it blatantly and they don't care. And you know the commission is supposed to be a commissioner person in each corner. So you were planning on getting away with that through the whole fight? I don't understand what was the plan right there.
But that's what I'm going, Shane. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, bro, this is the thing though. Not in this particular situation, but in general. When it comes down to actually inspecting gloves, when you send a representative in there and even an inspector, you gotta understand that these people get their hands wrapped every single day. Boxers get their hands wrapped every single day. So it's not hard for a boxer to know how to wrap their hands correctly, so they get advantages.
Well,
but it's hard for an inspector to inspect it. Not in this particular situation. I mean, in general.
No. All right, so let's be clear here, okay? The inspectors never in the history of boxing have caught anything. It's always the trainer of the opponent who is sending the trainer in there that catches it.
That's a great point.
That's a great point.
So because I'll
literally.
Who are these people and what makes them qualify? Because obviously they don't even know what they're looking for.
That's it. That's a great point.
This is on every level, though. This is judging, refereeing, and it seems the inspectors as well.
That's what I'm saying. That's why
playing like.
Some guys have like the governing body. It's got to be somebody else.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's a whole different argument.
Different can of worms. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's a whole nother bag.
And when I say boxing is that's exactly what I mean. When I say boxing is a mess as the whole. Everything, all the bullshit that goes on behind the scenes is coming to light because people got smartphones and internet, and you can't just blow this shit by people.
Bro, here's the thing though. Like, so you take and it's incompetence on a lot of different levels. So so let's just say inspectors, they sign off on the gloves, they sign off on the tape. Now let's just say they do that. Let's say it's the main event, right? They sign off on the tape, they sign off on the gloves, and it's 2 fights before the main event. We all know that the inspector is not going back in to do a last second check before they walk to the ring. So a lot of times these fighters have 45 minutes, an hour and a half
to change to do whatever.
They're punching, they're doing whatever to those gloves. Period. I'll even give you another example that don't have nothing to do with gloves. I'll give you another example. Tony Harrison, Charlo 2. So that fight went down. The water bottle.
Hold on. Before you even bring that up, Charlo last fight, they were having an issue with his gloves, right? or something like that. Something was going on with his glove, and he looked worse in that fight. He looked worse than he has ever fucking looked. That's not coincidence to me. So that means a lot of these boxers do this shit, man. Let's not just put this on Tyson Fury.
I just think he looked worse. I thought he looked worse because he's against the best fighter he's ever fought.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that because I mean,
I don't know what the issue with the glove was though. You know what the issue with the glove was?
I don't remember what it was. I'm gonna have to do my research on that. But it was something about something when he was putting the glove on. So you know he's a knockout artist. I don't even believe he really even hurt that guy but once in that fight. He did not look the same to me, man. He wasn't fighting with confidence in me. He wasn't moving forward. Like it just didn't look good.
Well, the thing is, like, it's like you got to look at the level of competition. That's number one. There's a couple things I could point at outside of the gloves.
All right. Like, so I'm gonna give it to you, right, Gage? Okay. Jeff, you the one that said that fight was going to be a draw, and you were absolutely right about it. But when I'm watching that fight, man, it didn't look like dude was even on his level until towards the end of the fight, when it just looked like Charlo started gassing out, or he was just flustered. I couldn't say that he lost. I mean, to me, he won the fight. The way I was scoring it, to me, he won the fight by at least one round. But but I believe he won. I had it by one round. But it being a draw, I didn't have no arguments with that either, because there was a lot of those rounds you could have scored either way. Mm-hmm. So, but to me, when I heard the glove thing, it just started like I felt like that fight was not going to go the way I thought it was going to go, and it definitely didn't. And that's not coincidence to me, man. I think a lot of these boxers are cheating, and nobody wants to say anything because everyone's fucking doing it.
The truth is, though, in some divisions, like having like lack of padding in your hands actually could work as a deterrent for you.
Yeah, but the initial
either way, you hitting somebody with a glove hand.
Obviously, it's an advantage, but it could potentially be a deterrent. Because padding is also supposed to protect your hand.
Yeah, but they don't care about that, though. They don't care about that. The boxers don't care about that. Like
I break my hand for $500,000.
Of course they care about their hands. How can you not care about your hands? Your hands can break.
But if you tell a fighter they're guaranteed a big win in a big fight, but they're told like their hand is going to get damaged, they're going to take.
You don't know if your hand's going to get damaged in the fight. How much time have you
they're willing to break their hand? I'm not saying they don't care. I'm not going to say they don't care about it. They will risk it. Yeah, they will risk it. They will risk it. Yeah. Let me say this real quick. Big shout out to Put Up Your Dukes. He has a glove company, and I remember him telling me. Now I'm gonna keep the name anonymous, but basically there was a fighter. Got some gloves from him, and the guy basically said, the next time, can you put less padding in the glove, in the knuckle part, because I didn't get the knockout. That's just a glimpse of what these fighters be thinking at the end of the day. Like, at the end of the day, they're willing to risk injury and everything else. Think about it, Shane. Think about this. Like, yes, them having less padding can be a deterrent. The finest juices can be a deterrent as well. They still take the risk, don't they?
Yeah,
they still take the risk. So that's the thing. Like, it goes back to what Blaze was saying. Like, I'm like, until you have one governing body to kind of oversee the sport, boxing is the wild west.
Even if you have one, you have to train the people, the inspectors.
Because that's what I'm saying. They got to know what the hell they're looking for.
Good enough.
No, that's a fact.
But a lot of these things that's been going on that are just coming to light have been going on for years, man.
Yeah, but that's why I said even with it's the incompetence, because I'm like, you even go back to Charlo Harrison too.
I don't even think it's incompetence. I just don't think these motherfuckers know what they're looking for.
That was straight incompetence, because in their rule book, it specifically said you have to use the water. You have to use the water that is issued by the commission. You have to use the water that's by the commission. It has to be the actual water bottle, and it has to be a cap.
Yeah.
It has
All
to
right.
be a
So
cap.
they're supposed to. What it is they can bring their own water. It has to be approved by the commission, and it has to be in a clear bottle that's closed.
Yeah. That's
Right.
to be in a clear
Gatorade
bottle.
bottles ain't clear.
Yeah.
So they said the
And you
inspector
notice
said
when at the end of that fight that he looked great in that fucking fight. When he stopped Tony Harris.
The inspector said to try to defend himself. He said that Charlo and his team asked during the fight, can they transfer the water from the regular bottle to the Gatorade bottle? And he gave them the approval to do so, but didn't tell Tony Harrison and his crew. That's incompetence.
Right.
That's
incompetence.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying?
That could even be seen as match fixing to me. That could be seen as match fixing.
That's a fact.
So when you say that, though, Jeff, when you say that, right, that opens up a lot of more questions. Why in the hell do you need to have a water? What's the difference from drinking it out of a bottle and then a damn gym bottle? What's the difference?
What they said? Why? You know what they said? They said it's easier. It was easier for them to get it to the fighter if they had it in a squeeze bottle. But if you actually looked in between rounds, the trainer was right in front of his face. He was right in front of his face.
I don't believe no shit like that. It's the
I don't
same
believe it.
damn
I don't
thing.
believe it either. I don't believe it either.
A bunch of fucking bullshit. Get out of here.
But we got a new guest in the building, man. We got a new guest in the building, man. My guy Tony's Reviews. What's going on, player?
Not much. How about yourself?
Hey, man, what took you so long to click the link, man?
Oh, I was driving.
You was driving. I was getting ready to say, you got an open invitation, brother.
Yeah, Tony Reviews. You need to quickly join the fantasy league, bro. That's what you need to do.
Yeah, and man. Where you been at, bro? You gotta join the fantasy league, bro.
I'll check it out.
You will check it out? All right, cool. Hey, listen, man, go ahead. You got the floor, brother. Go ahead.
Nah, I don't know what y'all were just last talking about. The last thing I heard was like no padding and gloves. That's the last thing I heard.
Start where everyone.
Yeah, you start where you want to. You set it off. You set it off.
Nah, I'm gonna say you've had fighters do it all throughout the history of boxing, but it's harder to do stuff like that today than it used to be. I say harder. That doesn't mean that you can't get over. And normally when shit like that happens, it's on smaller level fights, not world championship level where all the money's involved, because there's a lot more eyes on it. But me personally, from the 32 amateur fights that I had, I would never, ever, ever want to fight somebody with no padding in my gloves. Exactly. Because of two reasons. One, I hit very fucking hard. I hit very hard. So I don't want to break my hand or my knuckles on your face when I'm hitting you, because you're at a lot of risk of doing that with no padding. Number two, in the back of my mind, I hit fucking hard, so I don't hit as hard. Like if I street fight you, right, I'm not going to hit you as hard as I would in a boxing glove, because I can put everything behind my punch in the boxing glove, and I don't have to worry about breaking anything. Without padding, I can't hit you 100% because I'm going to have a fear behind that punch. So I'm not saying fighters don't do it, and I'm not saying you can't get an advantage from it. What I'm saying is I wouldn't take the advantage because the risk is too high, in my opinion.
Yeah, but a lot of them do though, and that's the thing. Like a
lot of these fighters don't punch hard.
All right, so
a lot of them don't punch hard.
So let me say a little bit to that though, right? So we already just talked about the fight that we just saw where the guy was trying to skim on his gloves. So I don't know how he didn't seem too afraid to be about his hand, right? Because he was going to go in the ring with that. They were going to send him in the ring with that. So you know, there's people out there that they're more likely to take that risk. Now, when if I'm in a street fight, I'm not worried about breaking my hand. I'm worried about knocking that nigga the fuck out.
That's a fact.
It's a whole different way to throw a punch. Hold on. Just listen to that, Blaze. So before I started boxing, I would put everything behind my punches in street fights. But once I learned it and I learned how to actually throw punches, fuck no, because I know as hard as I hit, I'm at a high risk level of breaking my shit while I crack your skull. Like your face is gonna break, but so is my fucking hand.
But Tony's reviews, you're in the minority with that though. A lot of people don't know how to throw a punch.
That's why I said some fighters would do it. They definitely would do it.
Yeah.
I'm saying for me personally, the risk of breaking a knuckle is too
Tony,
high.
Tony, can I ask you a question? Matter of fact, Tony, I'll start with you and then we'll go around the horn. One of the classic cheat moves was Antonio Margarito before. I'm gonna go to the Shane Mosley fight.
That's a great fight.
When he got caught.
A great point.
How long? Now I know my answer, but how long do you think Margarito was actually cheating with the gloves?
I mean, realistically, probably his whole fucking career.
Look at the Cintron fight. Look at the Cintron fight.
You know what, Blaze? Hey, hold on. Listen, I'm glad Blaze mentioned Kermit Cintron. Let me tell y'all a little story real quick, because Shane know this, but I was supposed to interview Kermit Cintron. Kermit Cintron was supposed to fight maybe about a year and a half ago on a King's Promotions card. Had a cell phone number and everything, and the guy that he was supposed to fight never came to the United States to the weigh-in, right? So I never talked to him. Crazy. So I never actually got a chance to really interview him. The one question I was gonna ask him is when he actually found when Antonio Margarito got caught in a Shane Mosley fight, I was gonna ask him, where was he at? Does he remember where he was, and what was his first thoughts? Because I agree with Tony's reviews. Yeah, like I agree with Tony's reviews. He probably was cheating his whole career, but I would say the first signature fight that Antonio Margarito had was the first Kermit Cintron fight, because Kermit Cintron was pretty popular on HBO during that particular time. At that point. And after that fight, they was grooming him. Yeah, they was grooming him to be a star. And I think going back to the HBO days, he was cheating with the gloves. But it brings out Blaze's point. They've been doing this for a long time, and these inspectors and all of that are incompetent or corrupt.
So let me say something about that. Now, when he was saying about he would be worried about breaking his hand. Now, if you got a goddamn center block in your hand, you think you're going to be worried about breaking your knuckles? Then I don't think so. Because so many ways these guys have.
That's a fact. There's so many ways these guys can cheat.
There's so many ways, and they know it. And they're trying to find these loopholes. So this is the shit that turns me off from boxing. You know,
I mean, even
at
Mike
one point,
Tyson,
boxing was my favorite sport. It's not anymore.
Even Mike Tyson was saying, like, before he go into a fight, like, he would try to dig into the padding with his knuckles. Like, everybody's trying to gain an advantage as much as possible.
I'm gonna get chewed out for this. I'm about to say something that's going to get me chewed out by everybody.
You got to think about it. Like,
I'm the person that believes Mike Tyson, Holyfield, most of that generation were on steroids.
Well, Holyfield was. He got caught.
I believe Mike Tyson too. I can't lie. I believe Mike was on steroids too. He literally told you he was on steroids.
But listen. I'm gonna tell you. So Margarito, when he got caught with it, you saw his power disappear. He had power his whole career until after he got caught. He didn't have power with Mosley. He didn't have power in the rematch with Cotto. Like, his power significantly went down. So that's why I believe he was cheating from the beginning. But here's the thing about it. The commissions, they didn't know about the plaster. They didn't know about it. It's the first time they ever saw it. So the thing is, yes, you can cheat. And yes, people will always find a new way to cheat. But when that new way is discovered, it becomes harder to do it again. So if you're creating new ways to cheat, there's always that opportunity. But all I'm saying is, once things get caught, it gets significantly harder to do it again, because now they know about it.
Hey, Tony, listen, that shit just happened last week.
I was about to say, didn't it?
You heard what happened with Austin Trout?
No.
All right, let me explain to you what happened with Austin Trout. So he fought in Dubai, right? So somebody in his crew actually caught the opponent with hand wraps. They said it was soaking wet, right? So when they called him on it, when Austin Trout's team called the guy on it. You want to know what he said, bro? He said it's soaking wet because it's cold. They're in fucking Dubai. They're in fucking Dubai. You understand what I'm saying? Like, so, like, they're just some of it is just blatant, and they know that these inspectors are incompetent. Because I'm like, yo, like, what? Answer this. Hold on, real quick, Blaze. Hold on, Blaze, real quick. Like, what do you have to do to become an inspector? Like, do you have to pass
That's
the
what
test?
I want to know.
Do you want to have?
Do you have?
So,
like, Tony, do you know? Like, you've had amateur fights. Do you know?
Wow. I got something for that too, though.
What do you have to do to become a judge that scores a fight?
I was just about to say that. First of all,
I can answer that. I can answer that.
I can answer that. Married to somebody in the WBO.
I know what Mauricio said. I know what Mauricio said. He gets his judges because he gets like however many people he makes them watch a fight and then judging off of them scoring several different fights. That's how he picks them.
That's bullshit. I don't believe that.
Listen,
it's bullshit.
I can answer that. I
don't believe that.
I can literally I can go to pa.gov and actually print out an application to become a boxing judge right now.
Don't mean you're gonna get it though. Don't mean you're gonna get it.
No,
you'll probably be overqualified.
If my money, bro, if my money order is cashable,
right,
they gonna let me do it.
Right. Agreed.
That's what makes boxing the wild, wild west. Anybody can get in, and that's the problem.
That was my point.
Is not qualified.
Boxing is the only sport that I know that you have to pay to be a champion.
Yo, that's a fact. That's a fact.
So
you know what?
It's so cheap. It's so funny.
Hey, Blaze. Let me double down on that. Tony, listen up real quick. Let me double down on that. Now, this is on a smaller scale, right? This is on a smaller scale. Take the Michael Fox Gabriel Maestro fight. It's believed that Gabriel Maestro and Gilberto Mendoza, who is the head of the WBA, Gilberto Mendoza is kind of like a secret manager of Gabriel Maestro. That's the rumor that's going around right now. But also there's a rumor that they actually paid for the TV slot. So not only do you have to pay to be a champion, so I have to train, lose weight, risk my life, and I have to pay money to get onto the card to get a spot for me to risk my life.
But you know the problem. Jeff. Though
that's a fact.
Problem. I know, but you know the biggest problem, and this is the fact that governing bodies get paid through promotions, fights, and stuff, but it also creates an opening for exploitation. Because if my only source of income is through a sanctioned fight, then how else am I going to get paid? If a fight doesn't take place, I'm not going to get paid. So therefore, there's nothing
over these boxers, man.
Can I answer that?
Good. I'm sorry.
Matter of fact, I'm a.
It wasn't really a question. It was a statement.
I'm a respond to your statement with a statement. Actually, with a question. What sanctioning body do you know that's not non-profit?
All of them are, but
all of them are non-profit. So technically, it shouldn't matter.
But the biggest problem is though, Jeff, is we know governing bodies have allegiance with other promotional companies. That's a conflict of interest immediately. Now, when that happens, stuff like corruption can take place because we know the WBO and Bob Arum, we know Al Heyman and Mauricio Suleiman and all of that stuff that goes on, and Canelo and Mauricio Suleiman. Bro, it's easy for me to go give you a certain amount of money because at the end of the day, I'm putting food on your plate every month. So you can send an inspector in there that's not qualified or a judge in there that's not qualified, which you've seen on numerous occasions, and they just be favorable to you.
But that's why I made the statement that I made, because they can camouflage that and actually say, hey, we're not into that because we're non-profit.
But check this out. believe it
Go
was
on.
Teddy Atlas.
Go ahead, Tony. Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah. I believe it was Teddy Atlas, but it might have been somebody else. So don't quote me on Atlas saying this, but he told a story about how it was like a golden boy card, right? So Oscar De La Hoya paid for Mauricio to go out to eat in some real fancy restaurant. Then he also paid for all the judges to be there and the referee to be there too. If that's not a conflict of interest, I don't know what is.
They were all out
I
for
heard
dinner
that
the night
story
before the party. I mean, the night before the fight.
Yeah.
I heard that story. I heard that story. I'm gonna even take it a little further than that. I'm gonna go outside of the sport of boxing. I know Michael Jordan used to buy. He used to buy. I think it was Michael Jordan and Phil Jackson when that back during that Chicago run. They used to look out for the referees all the time. Like they would bring them shit to the arena, all types of shit. Like so it's a conflict of interest, all that.
If you think this only goes on in boxing, y'all, I don't know what.
That's like the referee Donahue from the NBA.
But you know what? I feel you know what would even it out of it. I feel like when Billy Joe Saunders was saying about Canelo, with the Canelo fight, that should happen in all types of fight where both parties can pick what judges they want. That should be like a jury picking or something, like jury selection.
I'm
like you can
glad you brought that
but
up.
the thing is though, Shane,
because that fight was a mess too. I'm not gonna lie.
But the
all
thing
the bull
is,
crap
Shane,
that went on before the fight.
Even if you go through that process, right? Even if you go through like a jury selection type process, if everybody that's serving in the jury is not qualified, it's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? If it's incompetence, it's incompetence. It don't matter how they're getting picked. That's like you picking 5 criminals. They all criminals. Like, you know what I'm saying? They all criminals. It don't matter how you pick them. Like, they all criminals.
You know what's that though? The judges themselves, like they're sitting ringside, so they pretty far away from the action, and they're always old as fuck. So you know they can't see good. So how the hell do they even know what's going on? Like you got 70-year-olds ringside.
You know the fight, Tony. 1 second, I'm gonna tell you a story. Jeff knows this story. There was a judge in England. He was literally on their phone during the fight. Literally on his phone during the fight. Literally.
On top of that, they reviewed it.
Fired.
Yo, on top of that, they brought him in for questioning. He told them he wasn't on his phone. He had the phone in his hand, but he wasn't on it, and they let him slide. You know the thing that's crazy. You know the thing that's crazy, yo. Like, and it's one thing on like how to judge around, because there's a certain general criteria, but you all have your own likes and dislikes when it comes down to.
That's what makes judging so fucking stupid, because they got so many judges with their own particular way they view fight when they should all be sticking to one criteria.
But the thing is, though,
that was the big uproar about what's the name fight this past weekend, Rigondeaux's fight, because a lot of people saying he got penalized because he was moving around so fucking much. When technically in the book, you don't get penalized before moving around.
But the thing is,
you're supposed to get points for that.
The thing, and that's the thing.
There's a lot of gray areas though. Stuff like ring generalship. I mean, how do you judge ring generalship?
Yo, like what? Like nobody can. Yo, very few people can explain to me what ring generalship is.
Right.
It's like I can't even.
Go ahead, Tony. I would say a lot of people have a different definition of it.
Yeah, that's a fact.
But the thing is, though,
ring generalship is. Yeah, it's supposed to be who controls the action of the fight, meaning that I'm imposing my will on you and I'm controlling the action. However, the problem with that is you don't always have to be on the front foot to be controlling the action of the fight.
Right?
You can be on the back foot, sharpshooting somebody or counterpunching somebody. He'll be controlling the action of the fight. So.
And that's exactly what I thought Rigondeaux did.
I'm not the only one that's having a
crack. To see somebody coming forward, but
it's breaking up a little bit.
It's like, what's that?
That might be Tony.
We
heard cracking for a second, but go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying it's like, some judges like aggression, but what good is aggression if it's useless? You just coming forward, winging at the air, and you're getting your head
That's
torn.
the facts, bro. That's what I'm saying. There's just too many gray areas when it comes to judging. Like me personally, like if you're around, like, but there's certain things though, Tony. If me and you watch the fight and me and you judge the fight differently, our scorecards won't be that different still.
Right.
There's some scorecards where I can't see how they've given a person a win. And it's just blatant robbery.
Can
You
I
have
can
to
I
feel
get
like
y'all?
there's a further motive behind
That
it.
was that
Can
Michael. What
I?
was that? The Michael fight that the guy
Michael
got
Yeah.
robbed.
Fox,
Those fucking scorecards ain't no fucking way, man. Ain't no
bro.
I'm
way.
gonna watch that was just like that. And you could disagree with me, but I picked the fight right. So I picked Franco to beat Maloney in the third one because I knew from the way that they cheated Maloney in the second fight that there's no way Franco was going to lose the third one, okay? Especially if it went to the scorecards. However, while I was watching the fight, I was looking at the compu boxes. I watched Maloney land several punches that they didn't even count. And the whole time, just big up in Franco like he was controlling the fight and he was getting beat. So
Let me
but
tell
I
you
saw
something.
he actually lost it, but I knew they were gonna give it to him. But it was so biased, listening to it in the copy box was so skewed that it was crazy because I
But
didn't even see
Tony's
Frank
review.
land that many punches.
1 second, Tony. I'll tell you one thing though. I've actually been next to the people who do CompuBox,
I'm
literally
about
in
to
a
say that's
ring.
just a one person pushing the damn button
Bro,
every
it's
time.
literally
Right.
one person, and they don't stand ringside. They literally sit behind the first row
I've never
of
put nothing.
media, and I'm stuck right next to them. And all they do is pressing a button. That's all they're doing. It's one of the stupidest things I've ever seen in my life.
I agree. It's
I
Yo,
saw
and
that
the
with my
thing,
own eyes, with my own physical
hey,
eyes.
hey,
CompuBox right
Tony,
next to me.
like it's been some bad scorecards. It's been some bad scorecards this year, right? Still for me, the worst round that was scored was Broner Santiago, round
Oh,
one.
that's the worst. That's
Broner,
the
hey
worst.
Tony,
That's
check it out.
worst.
Tony, check it out, bro. Check it out. So check this out. So Broner won the fight technically. A lot of people thought he lost, right? So here's the thing. 2 of the 3 judges gave Broner round 1. Broner did not land a punch.
In the
one.
whole of round one.
I don't
They
care what
did.
happened in the Michael Fox fight or any other fight. 2 of the 3 judges gave Adrian Broner a round where he didn't land a punch.
But let me say this though, Drake. In criteria, when it comes to boxing, scoring boxing, defense is supposed to be scored.
Yeah, but it's not supposed to be the top one though.
Right.
How much punches you landed has to be number one. Has to be number.
It
I mean,
should be number one. That should be number one. But like some judges,
Yeah, like
they're supposed to be trained to factor in defense, no matter what to me, you can't win around with defense. To me, that's just not. I don't know where the fuck whoever came up with that.
but
It's
that's
supposed to
because I'm
factor
like,
into a round.
if that's
Winning
the case, Blaze Tevin Farmer would be undefeated.
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 He
There's
would be
only been
undefeated.
boxer. There's only been one boxer in the history of boxing. I can't recall his name right now. That actually won a round off of defense
I think
alone.
you're talking about Willie Pep. I think a lot of people
That
talk
might
about
have
this guy called
Willie
Willie
Pep.
Pep.
Right.
Yeah.
He didn't throw one punch and he actually won the round off his defense. But I mean, how I scored is like this. I scored first off by who lands the most, okay? Then if it's very close, I look at, okay, who was landing more jabs, who was landing more power shots, whether it be hooks, uppercuts, body, who was landing the cleaner shots. So if it's close,
more
I go to
cleaner shot type of guy.
yeah, I go to that secondary to who landed the most. If those are still close, then I go to defense. Who was landing more counter shots? Who was evading more punches? Who had a better land ratio in that particular round? If that's close, then I go to ring generalship. Who controlled it? Who was pushing the pace? Was it a guy on the back foot or was it a guy pushing forward? Who looked better? If that's
But the
still
truth is,
close,
bro, Tony's reviews, I would kind of switch it. Me personally, I rate ring generalship a little bit higher than defense. Purely
nah,
and simply, I'll explain why. I'll explain myself just simply, yeah. Because there's a lot of fighters who rely on defense, but they don't control the ring. And the reason why that's so important to me is because I'll see fighters, they literally just sit in the pocket, be deploying either the high guard or the shoulder roll, but they're getting pushed back. And when you look at the fight, you're like, all right, cool, you're defending, but you can't maintain this for a long period of time. And
but
that's
what I said their defense off their counter punches.
okay. Fair enough.
So when it's close, I go to defense. Who's countering better? You know what I mean? Like who's catching and shooting? Who's parrying? Who's
fair enough.
hit?
Tony, can I ask you a question?
Like if it's a Rigondeaux to where I can land a airplane in between him and the other fighter, then that's a different that's full different.
Yo, when I read that post, they was like Rigondeaux was practicing social distancing during the fight.
but let me point out something that he made that bull look kind of fucking stupid at points in that fight, though, man. I think dude was so frustrated. That's what made me believe Rigondeaux won that fight.
Can I be honest with you, bro?
Mm-hmm.
Under normal circumstances, I would have gave Rigondeaux the fight. I had this discussion with Shane after the fight. This is probably the only time I ever scored a fight simply off of emotion. Like I was so pissed off with Rigondeaux because there was about a good 4 rounds where I was just like, bro, like you're not even trying to score. I'm like, you're doing everything. Like Rigondeaux does this. Rigondeaux is the equivalent of I can make like whatever your favorite food is, I can put it on the plate, put it on the table, and sit it in front of you. All you got to do is eat, and you just don't eat. Like Rigondeaux does everything humanly possible to put himself in position to land great shots. He just don't throw. He just don't throw. So another thing in terms of scoring is there are things that you can do to give a way around, which is not factored into the criteria of scoring a round.
All right. So when I'm watching this fight, right, I'm with you because it was a bevy of emotion going on in that fucking fight for me. First of all, when I'm watching the fight, as he's running around the fucking ring, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what are you really fucking doing? And then I'm looking at this other guy get frustrated, just swinging wildly, hitting ropes, hitting nothing but the rope. And I'm understanding it, but I'm not liking it. But the way I score fights, I have to stick to my scoring the way I score fights. And I was giving him the rounds because he was moving around effectively and he was countering him. The other boy, he caught him with a couple good shots, but I can't just give you a round just because you caught him with one good shot around. He caught, Rigondeaux was using his counters effectively in that fight, but it was just the way he was moving around so much and to get away from the ball. It just seemed like he didn't want to square. And that's just, some people don't like that, and that's why he didn't win that fight.
So this is how I looked at it. I looked at it like this. Rigondeaux threw less, landed less, first off. Mm-hmm. Second off, Rigondeaux was only throwing jabs, and a lot of the jabs were glancing. They weren't even really landing that well. They were just glancing while he was moving. Casemiro, although he was looking foolish at times, swinging at the air, swinging at the turnbuckle, swinging at the rope, swinging at the judges, swinging at the ref, swinging at the crowd, still, when he was landing, they were hard shots. They were clean, dead-on body shots, head shots. He was running Rigondeaux into them, even though they were, few far in between. However, like I said, when I do my scoring, if they're landing very similarly, I got to look at the quality of punches that were landed. And Casemiro was just landing the better shots in a close fight.
All right, so when you say that, I kind of disagree with the quality of shot because he was throwing a lot and he hit when he landed. He did land them clean shots. I seen Rigondeaux landing a lot of clean shots. To me, like I said, it just. I wasn't. When people say it was a robbery, I'm not going to say it was a robbery. I can see the way if you want to score a fight and give it to the other guy, the way Rigondeaux was fighting, I didn't have a problem with it.
One second, Tony Reviews. Do you have Instagram?
What's that?
Do you have Instagram?
Nah, I ain't got IG no more.
Hey man, you gotta come back in, man.
Give me a few minutes. I'll be done.
No,
you on Facebook or Twitter?
I ain't used my Facebook in so long, and I don't fuck with Twitter.
Me neither.
Okay.
But the truth is, bro, the reason why I'm saying that is because, like, what your breakdown or just thought of how you broke that fight down. The reason why I say that's literally an amazing description is because you gave us how you break a fight that round down based on who landed the most punches, who landed the most effective punches, defense, and then ring generalship. But I also thought you applied it to that fight. But the reason why I asked you if you have Instagram is because a lot of the times you'll be able to analyze, like me and Jeff, when group chats whilst fights are going on, and you'll be able to see so much opinions of how people judge fights so differently. Like I remember Charlo and Castano. Literally, every single round was literally everybody had a different opinion, and the only reason I was saying that is just literally because when the next fight happens, I was just gonna say, Jeff, add him to the group chat just so he can see how different people view rounds. Like it's crazy. I don't know why some people just like that one eye-catching moment, the one that the TV highlight and rewind over and over again. I'm not that type of person. I feel like if you win 2 minutes of a round and one person wins 1 minute of a round, you win the round.
But see, unless you've been hurt in that one. You get hurt in that 1 minute.
Yeah, unless you get hurt. Yeah.
But that's the thing though, like with well, let me ask each of y'all this. Tony, go first. Now me personally, I score rounds in 1 minute increments. 3 minutes to 2 to 1 to the end of the round. Some people split it half and half. They go from 3 minutes to 150, and then 3 minutes to 130, and then go 130 to the end of the round. Like how do you divvy up the round? Do you split it, or do you look at it just in its totality? Do you do like 1 minute, minute and a half? How you do it?
Totality, whole body of work. That's what I look at, because here's the thing. Like y'all just said, somebody could get hurt, wobbled, and guess what? They just lost that round off of 5 or 10 seconds of action because they almost got fucking dropped. They almost got stopped in their tracks. So I don't really go by who controlled the first half, who controlled the second half, or break it down into thirds to see, like this guy controls 66% of the fight, the other guy only 33. I add it all up. I calculate it all up together as a whole, and then I only score round by round. Because some people, they like to see momentum, and they don't actually keep up with each individual round. They're like,
that's crazy. That's crazy.
Hey Tony, hold on. Hey Tony, let me ask you something based off of what you just said.
Yeah.
So the round that Jorge Linares hurt Devin Haney in, did you give Jorge Linares the round?
Yes.
I did.
Off of that one shot.
I did.
No. It's just the one shot.
I gotta go back and watch that.
No. Listen.
I'm about to go back and watch it.
It wasn't just the one shot. That wasn't the only reason. It was because of how badly he was hurt. He was holding on like a baby to his mother. Like he was damn near about to go down. So because he got hurt so badly, it swayed the round. But you got to understand, that fight right there, I think I gave Haney 9 out of the 12 rounds. It was just the last couple of rounds after he got hurt that kind of slipped away from him. But he controlled the whole fight.
Okay. No, I just wanted to that was a trick. That was a trick question. I just wanted to see if you were consistent with that. You passed.
For me, the way Tony judges fights is pretty much the way I judge a fight. Is just that his top two, I kind of switch with those. Now, I had to go back and watch that round when Haney got hurt, because to me, when it comes to a round tells
it happened at the bell. It happened at the bell.
Right. Right. I don't think it was right at the bell. But
it was right at the bell, because once he got buzzed, he walked right to the corner. He walked right to the corner.
Like it was like he got hit
10 seconds before the bell. Now, if I'm sitting there watching that fight and during that round, say Devin Haney was dominating that round and he got hurt in that last 10 seconds, I'm still not gonna get that round to Linares. If he's been dominating that whole round,
can I say one thing?
Unless he goes down, I can't give the round to
Can
Linares.
I say one thing?
Go ahead, Shane.
And this is going to relate to something Jeff said to Blunt quite a while ago. All of us rate ring generalship as and controlling the fight as part of scoring a round. Now, what about this? What about if you see a fighter and he's easily winning the fight boxing, but then in one round he decides to go and trade off of his opponent? Do you score that against that opponent, that fighter? Because he's given up his ace, he's given up his way of fighting.
No, if he's getting the better of the exchanges, I'm still giving him the round.
To me, when fighters do that, that means they're trying to put on for the crowd and put on more entertainment for the crowd. Because if a boxer's style is not to stand toe to toe, and he does it anyway, I believe he's doing that for.
So then, Jeff, why did you score most of the rounds to Castano against Jamal Charlo? Why did you score most of the rounds to Charlo instead of Castano instead of Jamal Charlo?
Well, the thing with Charlo,
a lot of those rounds were close. So
Jeff, when he was
for me, Castano, the amount. First of all, Jamel put himself at a disadvantage, putting himself on the ropes. That's number one. So, and the thing was, Castano wasn't doing anything to put him on the ropes. Charlo decided to put himself on the ropes. Now, in terms of the work that Charlo was doing off of the ropes, it wasn't bad work, but it wasn't better work than what Castano was doing in those same segments. Now, Blunt was saying that Charlo was doing great work off of the ropes. I don't know what he was watching, but I don't know what he was watching. My man, BoxingFirstVlog, I was like, I don't know what he was watching. I was like, Charlo wasn't doing no great work off of the ropes.
He almost got dropped off the ropes.
Yeah, the reason why Castano, the reason why I gave Castano a lot of those rounds is because number one, the activity. Secondly, it doesn't matter how he got to the ropes, but Castano was in a favorable position during some of these exchanges, and he was just landing he was doing the cleaner work. Like Charlo's work was too spaced out to me. Like he'll go a whole minute, not really land nothing, then he'll explode. Like it wasn't consistent
Charlo would
work.
fight for the first minute of the round and then just stop.
It just chill. Yeah, like it's just. But that's why I said I score fights. I used to score fights like half and half. Like I used to go like the first half of the round, then the back half of the round, and now I literally just score it like I literally vent it like it's 3-1 minutes. I'm
gonna give you a reason why I stopped doing that. You remember Sugar Ray? Was it Sugar Ray versus Marvin Hagler? Was it Marvin? Yeah, it was Marvin Hagler. He kept killing the rounds in the last minute of the fight, and he wound up winning that fight.
But he still wasn't winning the rounds in my book, though.
Who won the fight in your eyes?
A minute.
Hagler won that fight.
He was doing
Hagler won that fight. Clear.
Oh, you saying he won?
Talking about the Sugar Ray? Yeah, I didn't score that for Sugar Ray.
No. He didn't. That's what I'm saying. That's what he was doing. That was his game plan.
Yeah, he wasn't fooling me with that bullshit. He wasn't fooling me with that bullshit.
No, but you know what though?
30 seconds.
You know
to get
what?
around. Like,
I feel he won that fight not just because he won the last minute of the round, but people expected lesser of him. I expected Hagler to just knock him out.
Yeah, but you giving them rounds off perception though.
No, but people do that.
I'm talking about you. I'm talking about you.
I didn't do that. I'm not saying I did.
You said you gave Sugar Ray the fight.
No, I'm saying people gave Sugar Ray Leonard the fight.
No, that's what I'm saying. You said you did though. You said
no. I didn't mean. If I said that, I didn't mean to say that.
Okay.
But I wasn't alive when that fight happened.
Bro,
how the hell am I going?
You got fucking YouTube, yo. I'm not trying to hear that shit. You got fucking YouTube, man.
Yeah, but obviously by that time I've already known the score, so it's different.
No, but that doesn't change how you would score.
The fight, man. That's a clay.
Now I've seen the fight, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
When I'm seeing the fight, but I'm just saying, a lot of people score. I was just using that as an example. A lot of people score fights based on perception. It's like when Wilder fought Fury, people thought Fury was just going to get knocked out in the first fight. They were just scoring rounds to Wilder for Fury for him running, and he wasn't even doing nothing. Like,
hey, Tony, let me ask you a question. Let's take a fight like because I'm glad we're having this discussion because I want to get more insight on how people score fights and score rounds. Do you remember how vivid do you remember Broner versus Malignaggi?
I remember that vividly.
Oh man, I don't. I remember the fight. I remember I saw the fight. I remember the lead up to the fight because Polly was talking about that's my side chick. You over there bragging about my side piece. That's just a side piece.
Yeah.
I remember
the reason,
but I don't remember it vividly.
Okay,
it's not 8K mind.
Okay, so the reason I mentioned that fight is because that's a classic example of somebody throwing in volume, but they don't have no power, versus a guy that's economical with the shots, but he has the power. So that's why I was inquiring if you actually watched that fight.
That was Malignaggi game, though. That's what he did. He's going to hit you with a bunch of pop shots that don't fucking hurt you and get the hell up out of there.
Right, but how do you score that though? How much credit do you give to shoe shining? That's what we call it, shoe shining.
It depends, man. Like
it depends how much
you ain't got no power behind it, and you're just, shoe shining to hit gloves and arms. I don't count that. Like I only count clean shots. If that shot don't line against your body and it land up against a glove or arm, I'm not counting those shots.
Well, I look at it a little differently. If you're shoe shining, right? But here's the problem. It's like Devin Haney is an example. Not every fighter is blessed with power. Not every fighter can be a power puncher. So I'm not going to take points away. I'm not going to subtract from somebody because they naturally don't have the power to do the type of thug shots people like to see. If he's shining that shoe and it's got a nice shine to it, I can see the wax face off that shoe, then he won the round. Even if the other guy's more economical and maybe hit him with 2 or 3 harder shots. Well, I'm sorry. If you just got hit in the face 20 times by soft punches, I'm gonna give it to the soft punch.
All right, so that's not what I meant. I meant like if you're hitting gloves and arms with the shoe shine, which you're normally going to get when you're doing that anyway, because the guy's going to ball up and cover up. When you're hitting nothing but arms, I don't count that. I count that as deep.
Hey, Tony, listen. We're all busy, right? I know you a busy man. Blaze definitely busy. Shane's busy. That's one fight I would like for us to go back and actually watch and actually score it. Broner Paulie.
Hell no, that is the why are you scoring that fight, bro? We need to go score. No. We need to go score Pacquiao versus Jeff Horn.
You and maybe 5 other people think Jeff Horn won that fight.
Why? You really think Jeff Horn won that fight?
Yeah, he crazy. Shane was smoking them UK teams.
I watched it 3 times, and their fight, it's closer than people like to say.
It was close. I agree.
He's still lost, but it was a close fight.
Shane, I promise you, Shane and I
just agree on most fights.
Listen, Shane and I are gonna watch because you can get on StreamYard without going live. I'm gonna screen share, and I'm actually gonna pull up Pacquiao Jeff Horn on YouTube. And Shane and I are gonna watch it on StreamYard, but we're not gonna go live. And I want to see him score 7 rounds for Jeff Horn.
You know why, bro? Because the truth is,
and I'm gonna secretly record that shit without him knowing.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. The truth is, bro, we've scored so many fights, literally. Like we've watched whole fight cards scoring the fights, and most of the time we're round off equal, give or take a round. I was adamant that Jeff Horn won the fight. He was adamant that Pacquiao won the fight. So
I can see maybe he could have got a draw, but him winning that fight,
I think he won the fight, bro. I think he won the fight.
You had a 7-5, Shane? You had a 7-5?
7-5.
Shane, you're gonna have to listen. You're gonna have to show me. You're gonna have to show me. Listen, we're gonna watch this fight, and we're gonna set a date. We're gonna set a date. We're gonna watch this fight, and I want you to point out 7 rounds for me.
Bro, I told you I'm gonna be in Philly soon, so
that's fine. That's fine. I don't care. You gonna have to produce your scorecard, a physical scorecard to me. I don't care if it's on the back of
And
a
you know
bag
what,
of
Jeff?
chips. I don't give a
You know
damn.
what? You know what we
Like,
do, Jeff? You know what we do? When we launch what we're gonna launch, we do it on that.
that's fine. I don't have no problem with that. I don't have no problem with that. But you're gonna have to show me 7 rounds for Jeff Horn.
Easy.
But
Because I don't see it.
Easy.
I don't see it.
Shane, I'm gonna help you out a little bit, Shane, even though I don't agree with you. Look, I rewatched the fight because I had an argument with somebody about Jeff Horn did better against Pacquiao than Keith Thurman did. So I had a rewatch party, and Jeff Horn did better against Manny Pacquiao than Keith Thurman did. We watched them back to back. So I give you that. It was a tough fight, but he still lost.
He lost.
Nah, bro. In my opinion, I thought for the most part, Jeff Horn, and this is my memory. This is based on my memory. I remember Jeff Horn being way more physically imposing, literally just sticking it on Pacquiao. Literally just sticking it on the seat.
What I remember that fight is
almost got knocked out, right?
Shane was on medication when he watched that
fight. yo, Jeff Horn damn near got floored, damn near put out. The referee was about to step in and stop the fight
because Jeff was out on his feet.
Yeah, but you can still win a fight and be out on your feet.
Yeah, I agree, but he didn't win that fight though.
Shane,
in my opinion,
Shane,
bro. Are you guys not remembering? Are you not remembering the first half of that fight where Jeff Horn was just ragdolling?
Ragdolling and landing shots is 2 different things, bro.
He was landing shots, but he was ragdolling as well, bro.
Bro, you giving them rounds for pulling wrestling moves like fucking Bret Hart and shit, man. Like,
bro, that's boxing. You see that all the time in boxing, bro.
Like
wrestling moves is not in the criteria of scoring a round, Shane.
I know.
And he got cut in that fight, right? Because I think it was the headbutt that he got cut.
Yeah, Pacquiao got cut. Yeah.
But Pacquiao was getting. Truth is, I don't even think Pacquiao took that fight serious.
You know what? You know what? I got a better fight. Chocolatito with Strada.
No, but the truth is, bro, I'm not gonna lie. The only reason why I think Chocolatito won the fight. But I'm gonna say Estrada won the fight because me and Jeff both predicted the fight. He went with Chocolatito, I went with Estrada, so I have to stick with what I picked.
Yo, I was pissed, yo. Like I was pissed off, man. Like I was so pissed. But it's like Blaze said earlier, man. Like you just, you know, with these judges and stuff, man. Like it almost like
it wasn't a robbery though.
But yo, check this out though. Like Tony's reviews, you probably don't know this. I think I told Blaze this before. Everybody know Jesse Hart. That's my guy. Like that's my guy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I literally told him to his face. I was like, yo, the judge that had it 6'4" was on drugs. For Joe Smith, I was just like, they were on drugs.
Was it a 10 rounder?
It was a 10 round fight. I said, bro, the person that gave you 4 rounds was on drugs, bro. And I literally told him that.
Didn't he get knocked down in that fight?
He got knocked down in that fight. He went into that fight. He went into the fight with an injury. But I told him, yo, I said, whoever gave you 4 rounds, I said, bro, I gave you 2 rounds. Yeah, Tony's reviews. This is me literally telling a fighter face to face, yo, I only think you won 2 rounds, bro. And I'm like, I wouldn't be me if I didn't tell you the truth. I'm not gonna sit up here and say you fought your best fight. I'm like, some people can't respect that, but he was man enough to respect it. He was just like, yo, G5, like, yo, like, it just wasn't my night. But he was just like, he didn't want to tell me about his hand, but I already knew about it. I was the one to break the shit. I ain't broadcasting. I didn't broadcast it.
Like funny as shit, just because of the lead up. Like he was over there.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, he's supposed to be, I'm gonna save Bernard Hopkins.
The truth is, though, I think he still would have lost.
Got his ass.
Yeah, I still think he would have. I think with Gil Flores, what's going on, player? Yeah, the thing about it though, Tony, is even if Jesse Hart was on top of his game, I still think Joe Smith probably would have won the fight. Just because of Joe Smith's style. But the thing was,
stylistically, Joe Smith is just I don't think Jesse Hart has the aggression, has the offense to outland Joe
No,
Smith.
it wasn't even that. I don't think Jesse Hart had the power to keep Joe Smith off of him.
That's
That
what
was the
Obviously,
thing.
How to keep him off of him because he's kind of a lanky, kind of
Yeah, lanky dude. Yeah,
tall fight, and Joe is just like a big, muscle bound,
yeah,
Caucasian. He just
yeah,
pretty much doing him and took him out. That's what I
yeah,
remember. I haven't
yeah.
watched it.
Yeah, he won.
Jesse Hart got battered. That's
Well,
why he got
Yeah, he
absolutely
got beat up.
destroyed.
He got beat up in that fight. But the thing is, I'm like, that's a classic example of like there's some judges that you just be like, you don't know what they
the
was
hell?
watching. Because the thing was, Tony, this is the thing. I did a whole post-fight review on it, and I said it in the video. So he called me about it. And I basically repeated what I said. I said, nah, like I said, I gave you 2 rounds, bro. I said 3 at the max if you being nice. I said, but I gave you 2 rounds. 2. And I said, I'm keeping
What
it
was the hardest fight for you to score, Tony? In your recollection, in your mind, what's the hardest fight it's been for you to score?
Hard to think.
Give me a second to think.
Yeah, I gotta think about that one.
What's the hard fight it took me to score?
Man,
I've had a few fights that was hard for me to score.
Yeah,
Gotti versus Vicky. Those were some close ass rounds to me, man.
Yeah.
What you say?
Gotti, Arturo Gotti.
Arturo Gotti,
Mickey and Ward.
Yeah.
Some
That
close
was
rounds. Like, which way were you going with a lot of those rounds? That's just the first one that pops up in my head. I would literally have to think about that question.
Yo, you know what? That's a good ass question. I can't even think of one off.
I got one for you guys, because this was the hardest fight for me to watch in my life. Bartholomew versus Robert Easter Jr.
That was boredom. That was boredom, bro. That was boredom. That was that was hard to judge because it was just lack of action. Like, no, I'm talking about like competitive.
I can't fucking watch this fight, man.
I watched that fight. I stayed up to watch that fight, bro. I was so depressed.
I was happy. Not to cut you off, but I just thought of it. So this is a fight that is very hard for me to score because, to be honest with you, after watching it quite a few times, I really feel like Klitschko lost. I thought Brian Jennings beat him. I thought Brian Jennings won that fight. And that's probably the hardest one for me to score because I know so many people tell me I'm crazy for thinking Jennings beat him, but I just thought Jennings evaded a lot of his shots and landed more.
What country you from, Tony? I mean, what country? What part of America are you from, Tony?
New York.
Okay. The reason I'm saying that is because a lot of Klitschko's fights went that way. But the one thing I would say, the difference is Brian Jennings was probably the most athletic fighter that Klitschko's ever fought, obviously outside of AJ.
That's a fact.
But one thing I realized in the Brian Jennings fight was he wasn't getting away with all of the excessive clinching that he normally does. When he used to fight in Europe, he used to do some some excessive holding, clinching, wrestling. He didn't get away with that.
Hold up. Because I know you from the UK. I can tell by your accent. Hold on now. While we talking about holding, we got to understand where that came from. Wait. Lennox Lewis was notorious for clinching. Jab, jab, grab, jab, jab, grab. It all comes back to Emmanuel Stewart, his trainer. That's how they taught him how to fight.
Right.
Bro, when you say English, you have to say that with an asterisk. I don't like English boxing, so trust me.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, one of the greatest fighters from the UK, Lennox Lewis, same thing. Jab, jab, grab.
But I will say this though, bro. Lennox Lewis was doing that before he got to Emmanuel Stewart.
That too, but that's their game plan. They try to hide their right hand.
He was doing that before Emmanuel Stewart.
That's what George Foreman used to do. He used to hide his left hand. And instead of just throwing your right hand and don't having no defense after that, they just grab. That's what they do.
Yeah. When fighters are
Shane act like he don't see the comment on the screen.
Yeah, I saw that comment, but wait, bro. My response is this: when Chris G gets up the table, he can talk to me. Right now, you're at the bottom of the pile, bro. You gotta remember, when you're at the bottom of the fantasy league right now, Chris G. You're not in my tax bracket right now, bro.
Go back and watch this fight because I remember Pacquiao winning this fight. I had him winning this fight. I knew that.
But yeah, when
did you have how'd your score Floyd Castillo won? You saw Castillo win that fight?
That's a fight I have watched. I honestly wouldn't. That fight could have, to me, I had Floyd winning the fight, but either way it would have went. I wouldn't have been mad about it. It was definitely a fight though.
I thought, and this is me being honest, and I might sound crazy. Yeah, in fact, I'm not even gonna say what I was gonna say. Go on.
Go ahead and say it. We already 2.5 hours in. Say the shit.
In my mind, yeah, and this could be down to fatigue, but I thought Maidana 1 was a close fight.
No, it wasn't a close fight.
I'm about to say it was close fight. He won the fight.
No, it was a close fight.
No,
it was a close fight. That was I think I actually gave it to Floyd. I think 7-5. I think I gave him. I gave Maidana 5 rounds.
I think that was one of Floyd's harder fights.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, top 5 for sure.
I say top 2.
Because I remember a lot of people were saying Pacquiao won the fight, and I was like, "Oh, if you think Pacquiao won the fight, then what do you think Maidana done?" When
I'm like, the hardest fights Mayweather had, I would say was Emmanuel Augustus for sure. Maidana 1, Castillo 1.
Maidana 1. Are you saying Maidana?
Maidana Mayweather 1.
What do you think about Sugar Shane Mosley? What about that fight?
Nah, outside.
Y'all saying who thinks Mayweather lost the first Maidana fight?
Nobody's saying that he lost. Nobody's saying that he lost. You said it was. I said his toughest fights. Toughest fights. Yeah. So Castillo won. Castillo Mayweather won. Maidana Mayweather won. Emmanuel Augustus. Miguel Cotto.
It's another 4. Fight.
That was a tough fight.
That was a tough fight.
What was the fight that Mayweather
I thought
I can't remember who he was. He had on black shorts.
We said Tony?
I can't remember.
Well, let Blaze talk. He was saying something. I kind of talked.
Go ahead, Blaze. Go ahead.
I'm trying to think of the fight Mayweather fought this guy. Now, this is a fight that I seen Mayweather get caught clean, like literally had his head snapped back. I can't remember who this guy was.
You talking about Chop Chop? You talking about Chop Chop Corley at 140?
Oh, I can't even remember his name.
Oh, was it? Are you not talking about
guy was
Zab Judah?
You talking about Zab?
Zab Judah was wearing black trunks. Zab Judah.
Yeah, that's the first fight Mayweather got knocked down in. I agree with that because he went down in that fight.
Yeah, that was a knockdown. That was
that was obvious.
Now, he would have lost that fight.
But I was gonna say that first Castillo fight, if you watch it back, I don't think it was a close fight at all. I thought Mayweather dominated him, and Castillo was dirty as fuck all through that fight, throwing elbows, headbutts, all.
But according to Shane, that can win you around.
Oh,
according to Shane.
Bro, the truth is, Tony reviews, Jeff is talking so much trash because I remember when me and Jeff first watched the Alexander Povetkin Michael Hunter fight, he said Alexander won, and then he watched the fight back and he changed his mind. So Hunter won that fight.
Yeah, Hunter won the fight.
No, but when
didn't they score the draw? Didn't they score the draw?
No, they scored it a draw. But when Jeff watched it live, he thought Povetkin won it. Then you watched it back and thought Hunter won it. So everybody's allowed to change their mind, bro. So
but I did change my mind, but it wasn't because of no goddamn elbows and roughhousing.
Oh, this guy.
Yo, hold on. Hey, listen, man. I'm gonna end this joint right here, man. We about 2.5 hours in and shit, man. Tony's reviews. We appreciate you stopping through, good brother. You always got the open invitation. You know what I'm saying? So big shout out to you, man. Thanks for stopping through, man. Appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate y'all letting me on.
Hey man, no problem. Blaze Philly 215, man. Appreciate you jumping on, player. Get him your social media and all that. I was gonna ask Tony for his, but he basically said he ain't got no social media.
Hold on. Let me tell you why.
Hold on, go ahead, Tony. Hold on.
I'm gonna tell you why I don't have social media because my IG was too sexy. You know, my girl was getting jealous. I had all these followers. You know what I'm saying? The abs were out, the chest was out, the shoulders was out, strap big. There was too much.
It was too much.
So,
okay. So all right, so we might Tony reviews might be at a OnlyFans near you in the future. You know, we'll
That's a wrap for that in October. Ain't no more no OnlyFans.
Yeah, we'll keep you posted on that. You know what I'm saying?
Jeff, every time I hear OnlyFans, you know what that reminds me of? When we were dropping, when they were trying to guess what we were dropping, and then they were like, "Oh, Jeff, you dropping an OnlyFans?" Remember?
Yeah, yo, hey Tony. So to the lead up to the website, we kept on promoting it. We was like, "Yo, we got a surprise for you. We got a surprise for you. We dropping something special." So, who was it? Was it who actually said it though? Somebody was like, "Yo, G5." Who?
I don't remember.
No, who's the one that be in boxing lowdown?
Conrad
Boxing said he said you starting the OnlyFans, bro? I said hell no, I ain't starting no OnlyFans, man. Like that's funny as hell. Yo, but Blaze Philly, we appreciate you stopping through, man. Give him your social media, good brother.
Just hit me up on New Boxing Wave Media. So I will get my content flowing a little better. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Jeff 5, appreciate you having me. Shane, you too. Tony, good meeting you too, brother.
Hey man, big shout out to Main 213, man. Late in the building. You know what I'm saying? Shane, give him your social media, bro.
I'm Shane the #1. Only on Instagram.
He has an exclusive contract with Instagram.
But
nowhere else.
If you want to support me properly, don't even follow me on Instagram. Go to g5jefftv.com.
That's a fact.
Literally, that's basically go g5jefftv.com and
you can get
join the fantasy league, watch the articles,
all
literally
that,
everything.
And you can, if you want to, we're gonna start sending people out the fights to cover the fight. So if you're interested in that, you can email us at media@g5jefftv.com. Also, if you have any questions, suggestions, anything like that, you can reach us at contact@g5jefftv.com. I'm all over the place: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, G5JeffTV, the website, of course, g5jefftv.com. We got a lot of big stuff coming, man. But listen, on behalf of Tony's Reviews, Blaze Philly 215, VP Shane, and your boy G5JeffTV, we are out.
All of y'all.
All right.